Chapter 253. Survival of the Fittest. After listening to Long Potion's words, Longao's state of mind seemed to have changed. He had just broken through to the mid-level Earth Emperor realm, and now he had broken through to the high-level Earth Emperor realm. A breakthrough? Long Potion's heart was pounding hard. He seemed to be in disbelief. Although it was only a breakthrough, he knew what it meant. He had only said a few words, and Longao had comprehended it. Such talent was too terrifying. Longao, are you even human? Longao, who had smoothly broken through to the high-level Earth Emperor realm, was very depressed when he heard Long Potion's words. However, it was completely understandable. Long Potion must have been shocked by his sudden breakthrough. With a helpless smile, Longao said, "I was just lucky to break through." Looking at the innocent face beside him, as if he was forced to break through, Long Potion couldn't help but want to give him a good kick. Although he was surprised, Long Potion was not envious, jealous, or hateful. Because in his opinion, the stronger Longao was, the more help he could provide. People who envied others but did not want to break through themselves would never be able to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. With such talent, even in the third-grade Long family, you can definitely look down on your peers. Longao just smiled and didn't say anything. Longao, do you know the situation in Crimson Province? Shaking his head, Longao didn't know what Long Potion wanted to say, so he didn't ask. He knew that since Long Potion had already spoken, even if he didn't ask, he would still say it. Longao, Crimson Province is different from Tianju. There are 9 families ruling over it. The 9 families are the Wang family, Hao family, Duanmu family, Long family, Miao family, Wei family, Zhu family, Fang family, and Yang family. Long Potion continued, among the 9 families, my Long family's strength can only be considered as below average. It won't be easy for us to rise. What do you want? I want to form an alliance. With who? Longao was even more surprised. He didn't know why the Long family of Crimson Province would tell him if they wanted to form an alliance. He couldn't control the Long family or other forces. Longao thought of something and looked at Long Potion. Could it be that Long Potion wanted his family to ally with him? Longao, I believe you've already guessed it. That's right. What I mean is very simple. If our 2 families form an alliance, we'll definitely be able to develop quickly. It would be a lie to say that he didn't want to form an alliance. Longao was well aware of the strength of the Crimson Province's Long family. The Crimson Province's Long clan was a peak level 4 existence, only 1 step away from officially entering the ranks of level 3. If that was the case, why would they choose to ally with his clan? Long Potion, even if we agree, will your family agree? Longao didn't think that a high-grade clan would be willing to form an alliance with a low-grade clan. It was already good enough that they didn't discriminate. Long Potion seemed to have guessed that Longao would say this. He smiled and said, when I speak the truth, your family alone doesn't have the qualifications to form an alliance with mine. Hearing this, Longao wasn't angry at all. He knew that Long Potion was telling the truth. Because of this, Longao couldn't understand why Long Potion would say that they could form an alliance with his family. Longao, your talent and potential are the strongest I've ever seen. As long as you can grow, I can guarantee that you'll definitely become an overlord in the future. This alliance is my investment. My family and I will do our best to help your family. I just hope that when you soar in the future, you can take care of my family. How about it? Staring at Long Potion, Longao had to admit that Long Potion was indeed a genius. He even dared to make such an investment. Since things had already reached this point, Longao knew that he couldn't refuse. He nodded and said, it's a deal. It's a deal. Longao and Long Potion were both super geniuses in their respective families. Although they were juniors, their words carried more weight than anyone else's, including the heads of their families. Because of this, the 2 of them dared to form an alliance. Otherwise, even if they formed an alliance, wouldn't it be nonsense if their families were different? Longao and Longao's alliance was a cross-province alliance. After all, Tianju and Crimson Provinces were very far apart. However, Longao knew very well that as the alliance began, their families would quickly enter a proper state. At that time, they would be able to develop. Longao had always wanted to see his family grow stronger. That way, he would be able to travel and gain strength without worry. Brother Long, if you want your family to grow stronger, remember that you must first obtain the approval of the Long family. Otherwise, your family will be stuck at rank 4 for the rest of your life and will never be able to reach rank 3. Why is that? Longao, you don't know. When our family breaks through rank 4 and reaches the peak of rank 4, the Long family will test us. Powerhouses are one thing, but more importantly, genius disciples. If they are not satisfied, the family will not be able to obtain their approval and will not be able to advance. So that's how it is. Longao of course understood the meaning behind Long Potion's words. In the end, if the family wanted to advance, they must first obtain the approval of the Long family. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. If the family did not advance, it would mean that the family would not have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Valley, obtain a dragon companion, and become a dragon warrior. According to the rules of the Long family, only those who reached rank 3 would have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Valley. Entering the Dragon Valley and becoming a dragon warrior was the dream of every Long family disciple. The family must advance, Longao firmly told himself in his heart. Unknowingly, the two of them arrived at a valley surrounded by giant mountains. It was impossible to see the situation outside. In the valley, a gentle breeze blew and white clouds drifted, giving a very comfortable feeling. This is the place where the warrior's tomb is? That's right. Back then, a senior discovered the warrior's tomb here and attracted countless warriors. However, after so many years, no one else was able to discover the tomb. However, the Heavenly Hound did not give up and would come to take a look every once in a while. Yet another one who refused to give up. Thinking about it, Longao felt as if a lifetime had passed. Because if he had not persevered for 10 years, he believed that he would not be where he was today. In addition to talent, a martial artist also had to persevere. Longao had always believed in one sentence, and that was that one's efforts would always be rewarded. Looks like the Heavenly Hound is not here yet. Longao, I have already explained the situation to you. When the time comes, you must attack with all your strength. It's best if you can kill it in one blow and not give it any chance. Otherwise, we will be in big trouble. Chapter 254. Longao knew very well that Long Potion was very afraid of the Heavenly Hound. Longao was also looking forward to the Heavenly Hound's secret technique. Before the Heavenly Hound came, Longao began to look at the entire valley. It was surrounded by mountains on all sides, and the environment was beautiful. It didn't look like a tomb at all. As for the ancient war, it was more of a legend, because no one had witnessed it with their own eyes. However, he couldn't believe it completely. As the saying goes, there is no smoke without fire. Inside the dragon seal space. Long Fu, can you sense the warriors' tombs in this valley? Yes, no less than thousands. Longao was just asking casually, but when he heard Long Fu's words, his whole heart trembled. Thousands of years of warriors' tombs, didn't this already prove that the Scarlet Sky world was indeed an ancient battlefield, and the valley he was in had thousands of warriors' tombs? Overjoyed, Longao couldn't wait to say, Long Fu, if the dragon seal space absorbs the souls here. Before Longao finished speaking, Long Fu had already said, Master, the souls here have evolved for thousands of years, and their resentment is very strong. If it weren't for a treasure suppressing them, I believe that these souls would have already come out to harm the world. Hearing this, Longao was shocked. But one must know that the blood pool in the dragon seal space was the nemesis of refining souls. If even Long Fu couldn't restrain these souls, then he couldn't. Master, you should leave here as soon as possible. Nodding, how could he not know Long Fu's worries, but could he leave? Long Fu, do you know how to find these souls? Master, what do you want to do? Nothing, I'm just asking. Long Fu didn't doubt Longao's words. After thinking about it, he finally said, Master, the tomb is on the left. After getting the entrance, Longao left the dragon seal space and didn't tell Long Potion about it. Longao came to the location mentioned by Long Fu. Sure enough, there were some patterns on the wall. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see them. According to Long Fu, if one wanted to open the warrior's tomb, one only needed to drip his blood on the pattern. If it weren't for Long Fu being unable to refine these so-called souls, Longao really wanted to go in and take a look. The ancient war was earth-shattering, with countless casualties. Blood flowed like rivers, and corpses were everywhere. As one of the ancient battlefields, the Crimson Sky world was believed to have lost many powerful warriors. If he could refine these souls, wouldn't it be of great help to his cultivation? It would be a pity to give up on these souls. But between the soul and life, Longao still chose life in the end. Longao, what did you find? Shaking his head, Longao didn't mention it. Instead, he asked, will the heavenly hound not come? I don't dare to say for others, but I can guarantee that the heavenly hound will come. Every once in a while, the heavenly hound will enter the Scarlet Sky world and come here to find the ancient tomb. This time, the heavenly hound will not let go of this opportunity. Longao calculated the time. It had been a whole month since he entered the Scarlet Sky world. According to the rules of the 9 states battle of wind and cloud, it would last for a total of 3 months. During these 3 months, no one could easily leave the Scarlet Sky world. There was no other way. Since Longao had said so, Longao could only choose to continue waiting. Longao didn't know if it was a small world. In the end, he didn't wait for the heavenly hound, but his enemy Huateng. Coincidentally, Huateng couldn't leave the Scarlet Sky world and hid everywhere. But no matter where he went, he could always be found. In fact, according to Huateng's strength, even if he wasn't the strongest existence, he could at least survive. But now, Huateng didn't have any thoughts at all, because he was very afraid of encountering Xia Jun and Dugu Bai. If this matter spread out, Huateng would definitely be laughed at. Long time no see, Huateng. How have you been? Looking at Longao and a stranger who suddenly appeared in front of him, Huateng let out a cry and asked in horror, are you a human or a ghost? Huateng was not sure whether Longao was alive or dead. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for Longao to survive when Miao Cheng blew himself up. But now, Longao was standing in front of him alive. Even if he was willing to admit it, the truth was in front of him, and he had to believe it. Was Longao a human or not? Huateng was completely panicking. Whether Longao was alive or dead, Longao had forced Miao Cheng to blow himself up. Just this point alone was enough to prove Longao's strength. With his strength, could he contend against Longao? Huateng, why don't you come over and touch me and see if I'm a human or a ghost? Long Potian, who was standing on the side, didn't say anything. Unknowingly, Long Potian had blocked the entrance, cutting off Huateng's only way out. Long Potian had seen the battle between Longao and Miao Cheng with his own eyes. Although he wasn't clear about the grudge between Huateng and Longao, as a friend, he had an obligation to help his friend. How could Huateng not know that another person was blocking the entrance? His face became even more gloomy, and it was as ugly as it could be. Longao, the grudge between us will be written off from now on. How about it? Under such circumstances, Huateng finally admitted defeat. Regardless of whether he would go against Longao in the future, Huateng was truly afraid now. Huateng naturally knew that he wasn't a match for Longao, a freak who could even force Miao Cheng to blow himself up. Longao sneered. Originally, he didn't want to completely fall out with Flame Sect. However, Huateng kept causing trouble for him. If it weren't for his heaven and earth sorrow, he would have been dead by now. It was impossible for him to be standing here. Huateng, are you going to kill yourself, or do you need my help? Longao's meaning was very simple. That was, no matter what, he had to kill Huateng today. He had to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, so that he would never have any future troubles. No matter what, Huateng's identity was there. If he let Huateng go this time, Longao could predict how much trouble he would have in the future. Miao Cheng wasn't the strongest martial artist in Flame Sect. In Flame Sect, there were Disaster Realm martial artists, Venerable Realm martial artists, and even Sovereign Realm martial artists. If Huateng were to leave this place alive, not only him, but even his family would be in trouble. Tumpiech, Longao, Aren't you afraid that I'll blow myself up? A threat. Huiting had no other choice at this moment. He definitely couldn't win in a fight. He could only choose to scare the other party, hoping that Longao would be intimidated and let him go. Feeling that Huiting was just a joke, Longao didn't say anything and just looked at him coldly. Longao, if you kill me, Flame Sect won't let you go. Even your family will be annihilated. Chapter 255. Huiting's intention was very simple. He wanted to intimidate Longao and save his own life. However, Huiting had miscalculated one thing, and that was that the Long family was Longao's weakness, and no one could touch it. Huiting, you will die today. Hearing this, Huiting's face instantly became gloomy and unsightly. If Longao dared to say such words in the past, Huiting would certainly despise him to the extreme. However, the situation was completely different now. Huiting stared at Longao in front of him and suddenly said, "As long as you let me go, I can tell you a secret." "How about it?" Longao did not want to talk nonsense anymore. He rushed out. Before he arrived, his powerful aura had already reached Huiting. Huiting was a mid-level Earth Emperor. Longao's current realm was the same as Huiting's. In the same realm, Longao could slaughter and even kill in seconds. Huiting did not dare to be careless. After dodging, he was ready to turn around and leave. However, at this time, Huiting remembered that someone had blocked the entrance. This was Huiting's first time meeting Long Potian. Of course, he did not know him. Get lost. Huiting was afraid of Longao, but he was not afraid of Long Potian. He rushed towards the entrance. However, Huiting never thought that this seemingly weak young man would be so powerful. Before he could react, Long Potian had already punched him back. Dao Ancestor. Huiting was completely stunned. Huiting had never thought that the person guarding the entrance was also a Dao Ancestor. On one side was Longao, and on the other side was a Dao Ancestor. Was he really going to die here? He was unwilling. At this moment, Huiting was extremely unwilling. This time, with the help of the Blood Sea Sect's Nihility Soul and Miao Cheng, he thought that he could smoothly kill Longao and compete for the ranking in the Battle of the Nine Regions. But what was the result? Huiting simply could not accept such a result. Given Long Potion's strength, killing Huiting would only take a few minutes. However, Long Potian didn't do anything. He just forced Huiting back. Longao nodded at Long Potian. He did not use the blood-sucking wild saber. He only used his arms, the divine dragon arms and the underworld tiger arms. His arms fiercely smashed out, not giving Huiting any chance to escape. Longao, even if I die, I won't let you have it easy. I'm going to self-destruct. Idiot, why are you shouting when you self-destruct? Longao wasn't afraid of Huiting blowing himself up, because at this moment, Huiting didn't have the slightest chance of blowing himself up. Before Huiting could self-destruct, Longao's body had already closed in on him. Both of his fists smashed over without hesitation. Catcher, catcher. Longao punched Huiting left and right as if he was punching a sandbag. His punches landed on Huiting's body. In just a few seconds, Huiting was already smashed beyond recognition. Blood gushed out. Longao. You. Finally, Huiting couldn't take it anymore and fainted. Looking coldly at Huiting who couldn't get up, Longao did not continue smashing him. Under such circumstances, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill Huiting. Huiting was dead. Miao Cheng was dead. Nothingness was dead. This time, Blazing Flame Sect was in an extremely tragic state. They were initially full of confidence. But to think that they would end up in such a state. If Blazing Flame Sect knew about this, would they be angered to death? There was no medicine for regret in this world. Such an outcome was the choice of Blazing Flame Sect. Longao, who is this person? Huiting of Blazing Flame City. Oh, I heard that this person's talent is pretty decent. But it's a pity. Longao, the grudge between you and Blazing Flame Sect has reached a point where it's either you or me. If this goes on, let's not talk about you, just your family alone will be in big trouble. Nodding his head, how could Longao not know about this? However, Longao wasn't too worried. No matter what, there was Fire Chelin in the family. As long as there weren't any super experts coming to the family to cause trouble, Longao believed that Fire Chelin would be able to handle it. However, Longao knew that this wasn't a long-term plan. According to his agreement with Fire Chelin would leave the family in 3 years. What would happen to the family by then? Just like what Long Potian had said, the grudge between him and Blazing Flame Sect had reached a point where they couldn't tolerate each other anymore. Once Blazing Flame City knew about this, they would definitely not let it go. Everyone had witnessed the battle between him and Miao Cheng. If there were no accidents, Blazing Flame Sect would definitely know about it. Their son was killed, their most outstanding disciple was killed, and even their nothingness soul was destroyed. It would be strange if Blazing Flame Sect could tolerate such a grudge. Longao's face turned slightly solemn. This time, not only had he offended Blazing Flame Sect, he had also offended Bloodsea Sect. He already had a lot of grudges with Bloodsea Sect. Now that he had destroyed Bloodsea Sect's nothingness soul, not only Blazing Flame Sect, but even Bloodsea Sect wouldn't let it go. Blazing Flame Sect and Bloodsea Sect had already formed an alliance. If they were to join forces to deal with him and his family, things would become extremely troublesome. Long Potian naturally knew what Longao was worried about. Suddenly, he said, "Longao, now that we've formed an alliance, your matter is my matter. How about this? I'll send the power of my family to your family later on. I'll also send 2 venerables to watch over your family. How about that?" 2 venerables? Longao naturally knew what 2 venerables meant. According to Dugu Bai and Xia Jun, the highest existence in the 6 great sects was the Supreme, followed by the venerables. "Thank you. Longao, although I can help you, you have to remember one thing. It's better to rely on yourself than on others. So, you have to think of a way to increase the strength of your family as much as possible. I understand, but it's impossible to increase the strength of my family in a short amount of time." He sighed deeply in his heart. Longao had thought about this problem no less than 100 times. He had also thought of many methods, such as pills and spiritual balls. However, the effect of these methods was almost negligible. Regardless of what would happen in the future, it was almost impossible to rapidly increase the strength of the clan in a short period of time at the moment. "Longao, do you know why the Long family that's rank 3 and above can dominate the continent and why no one dares to offend them?" Dragon Valley. There was no doubt about this. Long family matters were known to all. Without the support of the Dragon Valley, it was likely that the Long family wouldn't have become one of the most powerful forces on the continent. Long family dominated the continent because the disciples of the Long family could enter the Dragon Valley and choose their own companions to become dragon martialists. The strength of a dragon martialist wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. It wouldn't be a problem for them to challenge those of a higher rank. However, Long family had a written rule that only Long families of rank 3 and above could send their disciples into the Dragon Valley. Long families below rank 3 didn't have this opportunity. Chapter 256. That's right, the Dragon Valley. Long Potian nodded and sighed. The reason why the Dragon Clan can dominate the continent is because of the Dragon Valley. Longao didn't know what Long Potian wanted to say, so he chose to remain silent. "Brother Long, no matter how hard our family works, we can't catch up to the Long family. So if we want to become stronger, we have to enter the Dragon Valley and let more dragon warriors appear in our family. Only then will we have a chance to rise." "Enter the Dragon Valley?" "Brother Potian, you should know the rules of the Long family better than me. We have no chance of entering the Dragon Valley, let alone becoming a dragon warrior." Long Potian nodded. How could he not know this? But he still said, "Brother Long, we have to work hard and break through to the Void Realm. At that time, we can compete for the dragon ranking. Once we are on the dragon ranking, we will have a chance to enter the Dragon Valley." Dragon ranking? Longao was unfamiliar with the dragon ranking that Long Potian mentioned. He didn't know what it was at all. "Brother Long, it seems like you don't know about my Long family." Longao smiled embarrassedly. He indeed didn't know much about the Long family. He only knew that the Long family was one of the strongest forces in the continent. It had countless branches and a strict hierarchy. There were 9 levels, with level 1 being the highest and level 9 being the lowest. Long family has a dragon ranking. It's the most powerful ranking of the Long family's younger generation. All branches of the Long family, regardless of their level, can compete for the dragon ranking. There are a total of 100 spots. So that's how it is. Longao knew very well that the dragon ranking was equivalent to the 100 battle ranking and the wind ranking. They were almost the same. Brother Potian, with your current strength, what rank are you on the dragon ranking? Longao, you think too highly of me. With my strength, I don't have the qualifications to compete for the dragon ranking. Ah! This time, Longao was completely stunned. He never thought that Long Potian wouldn't even have the qualifications to compete for the dragon ranking. What did that mean? Longao was not a fool. Of course he knew what Long Potion's words meant. Longao, your guess is right. There are only 100 people on the dragon rank, and they cannot be older than 30 years old. All the clans can chase after them, so you can just imagine how difficult it is. Longao nodded. Even those at the peak of the Dao Ancestor realm were not qualified to pursue the dragon list. There was no need for Long Potian to say more. Of course, Longao also knew that the dragon list was more valuable. Longao was even more aware that the 100 battle ranking and the Fengyun ranking were not comparable to the dragon ranking at all. The two were not at the same level at all. The dragon rank is a rank that all the disciples of the Long family dream of chasing after. However, it is very difficult for the Long family below the 3rd rank to have a disciple on the dragon rank. Hence, once a disciple from a family below the 3rd rank enters the dragon rank, the Long family will pay attention to him. Long Potian did not continue, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. Long family members would take a fancy to any Long family member who entered the dragon ranking below rank 3. However, could the disciples of the families below the 3rd rank chase after the dragon rank? There was no need to guess at all. Longao could be sure that the dragon rank was a list pursued by the families above the 3rd rank. Just the identity of a dragon warrior alone would make the disciples of the low-level families lose the chance. Longao knew very well in his heart how difficult it was to chase after the dragon rankings. Brother Long, the Long family has a clear rule. If you want to chase after the dragon rank, your cultivation must first break through the void disaster realm. Otherwise, with our current realm, we are not even qualified to chase after the dragon rank, let alone be on the dragon rank. Longao's heart skipped a beat. It was too cruel. No wonder the Long family could become one of the most powerful forces on the continent. According to Long Potian, only those whose cultivation could break through the void realm could chase after the dragon rank. Did that mean that the more than 100 people on the dragon rank were all void warriors? Long family was too powerful. Longao, if we want our families to rise, we only have one chance, and that is the dragon rank. So, there is only one thing we need to do now, and that is to chase after the dragon rank. The higher the rank, the better it is for us and the families behind us. I got it. Longao clenched his fists. Just as Long Potian said, if he wanted his family to become powerful, the Dragon Valley and the Dragon Warrior were the only way. And he needed to help his family achieve all of this. No matter what, he was already a Dragon Warrior. Longao, your cultivation has now broken through to the middle level of the Earthly Emperor realm. Although your real strength is comparable to a Dao Ancestor, you are still an Earthly Emperor. I have a way to help you break through to the Dao Ancestor realm in a short time. Would you like to give it a try? Longao was overjoyed. He nodded and agreed without even thinking, of course I would like to. What is it? It's very simple. After the 9-state storm battle, you will follow me back to the family. Then I will arrange for you to enter a place. As long as you can do it, I believe it will not only help your current strength increase, but also benefit your future cultivation. Long Potian obviously did not want to talk about the place, so Longao did not ask further. Since he regarded Long Potian as a friend, Longao would certainly choose to believe him. He nodded and said, then I will have to trouble you, Brother Potian. Brother Potian, We don't know when Heavenly Hound will come. Why don't we fight for the soul tokens first, and then deal with Heavenly Hound? What do you think? Although Long Potian was a little unwilling, he knew that the two of them couldn't continue to wait here. But this time, all of them entered the Crimson Sky world to participate in the Battle of the 9 States, mainly to compete for a ranking and to become famous. But if the two of them stayed here all the time, wouldn't they be empty-handed if Heavenly Hound didn't show up? Just as Long Potian and Longao were about to leave, they saw two people coming from outside the valley. It was a man and a woman. The man was tall, and the woman was enchanting. They walked toward the valley, leaning on each other. Heavenly Hound, Yarrow G. Hearing Long Potion's words, Longao immediately became alert. They looked at each other and immediately shot to the left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Shortly after they disappeared, Heavenly Hound and Yarrow G entered the valley. Brother Go, why do you always come here? I'm so annoyed. Hearing Yarrow G's words in the distance, Longao shuddered. It was so disgusting. Longao, Yarrow G is a man. Longao's eyes suddenly widened. His face was full of disbelief. Yarrow G was a man? At first glance, no matter how he looked, Yarrow G was not a man, but an extremely enchanting woman. A man was not a man, and a woman was not a woman. What was this? Chapter 257. Brother Potian, how did he do it? Yarrow G was originally a woman. It's said that she cultivated an ancient secret skill called the Sunflower Manual. Even though she's strong, she ended up being neither male nor female. Sunflower Manual? Longao was very surprised. He was very curious about this so-called Sunflower Manual. What kind of secret technique was it? It could actually make a person become neither male nor female. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have believed that there was such a thing in the world. Brother Long, this Sunflower Manual is extremely strong. It's said that Yarrow G has only cultivated it for 2 years and she's already at the Tao Ancestor Pinnacle state. I believe that it won't be long before she reaches the Void state. No matter how strong the Sunflower Manual is, that alone is something that I can't accept. Nodding his head, Long Potian didn't want to look any further. After all, a transvestite who was neither male nor female hugging another man and being all lovey-dovey with each other was something that anyone would be disgusted by. After Tiengo and Yarrow G entered the valley, they were whispering to each other. Whether it was on purpose or not, Longao and Long Potian couldn't hear their conversation. But at this moment, Longao's face was getting uglier by the second. He wondered if Tiengo had discovered something. After entering the valley, the both of them headed towards the wall of the valley. This was where the tomb was located. Could Tiengo have discovered the entrance? Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. Longao was clear in his heart. If Tiengo had known about the entrance, he wouldn't have waited until now. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Looking at the both of them, Longao was certain that Tiengo knew about the entrance of the tomb. Brother Go, can we really enter the tomb from here? Don't worry. I've spent so much time and effort to find the entrance. How could it be wrong? Tiengo was filled with confidence. He then dripped his blood onto the picture on the wall. Indeed, the moment his blood fused into the picture, it was sucked dry. Longao, seems like Tiengo has found out about the entrance of the tomb. Nodding his head, Longao asked, Brother Potian, what should we do now? Wait and see. At this moment, a series of noises suddenly came from the wall, and then a stone door suddenly opened. Heavenly Hound and Enchantress were overjoyed. Without any hesitation, they immediately prepared to enter the stone door. However, at this moment, 2 terrifying auras pressed down on them, covering the sky and earth. Heavenly Hound and Enchantress were shocked. They did not dare to be careless and immediately turned around to fight back. As the 4 of them faced each other, a strong gale blew. Both sides retreated for a stroll. When the Celestial Hound saw the 2 newcomers, one of whom was Long Potian, its face darkened to the extreme. Long Potian, you're courting death. Heavenly Hound, don't talk to me, Before he could finish, Long Potian made a gesture of vomiting, which infuriated Heavenly Hound. Long Potian, do you like me a lot? Yaroji asked in an extremely gentle voice. Long Potian, do you like me? Yaroji, stop trying to disgust me here, you shitty transvestite. Tumph, you really don't know how to be humorous. Who is this person next to you? He's quite handsome. Little brother, how about you accompany me? Accompany your sister. Longao was too lazy to pay attention to the two. Just looking at the transvestite enchantress gave Longao goosebumps. Seeing Longao attack, Long Potian did not hesitate. With the two of them working together, their power doubled. However, at this moment, Heavenly Hound and Enchantress suddenly hugged each other, and their bodies began to spin. Longao, be careful. The two of them have combined. Enchantress's sunflower scripture just happened to have a martial skill combination technique. It was because of this combination technique that the two of them were almost invincible under the Nihility realm. Under Longao's shocked gaze, Heavenly Hound and Enchantress's bodies completely fused together, forming a person with two faces. One face was male, one face was female. In other words, Heavenly Hound and Enchantress shared the same body but had two heads. What kind of monster was this? Longao, you deal with one face and I'll deal with the other. Remember, don't give them any time to breathe. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. Nodding, Longao naturally knew the severity of the situation. He didn't dare be careless in the slightest. He fiercely punched out with both fists, but no matter how much force he used, Longao still felt like he was punching a ball of cotton. So powerful. He had to admit that Heavenly Hound and Enchantress's combined strength was very strong. Even the Divine Dragon Arm and Underworld Tiger Arm were unable to break through their defenses. Ha ha ha, I'll let you experience primordial true chi. When a man cultivated the sunflower scripture, he would become transvestite. When a woman cultivated it, she would also become transvestite. However, when the two of them worked together, the primordial true chi they cultivated was incomparably powerful. Heavenly Hound and Enchantress's hands were as fast as lightning, and they constantly attacked the two of them. The primordial true chi fused the principles of yin and yang, using softness to overcome hardness. Longao and Long Potian could not use any strength. Just like that, Longao and Long Potian were forced back step by step. Master, you can't use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. Longao, who was preparing to use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth, suddenly heard Long Fu's voice in his mind. He was very curious. Longao did not know why he could not use Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. However, Longao chose to believe Long Fu in the end. With no other choice, Longao could only use the Destruction Seal, Soul Subduing Seal, Underworld Burning Seal, and Sky Burying Seal. However, they were still firmly blocked by the two-faced monster. They could not invade its body, let alone corrode its so-called soul. Brother Potian, distract Heavenly Hound and Enchantress. Although Long Potian did not know what Longao wanted to do, he still nodded. Then, Long Potian erupted with his peak battle strength and tangled with the two-faced monster. Longao took the opportunity to withdraw. I'll let you try a soul attack. Longao was very clear in his heart. According to the defensive power of the two of them combined, it would be almost impossible to break through with strength. After thinking about it, Longao was prepared to use a soul attack, hoping that he would be able to succeed in one hit. However, before using the soul attack, Longao took out the God-sealing pearl and God-punishing mirror and released them at the same time. Two different forces spread out and instantly enveloped the two-faced monster. Longao locked onto the two-faced monster and changed the flow of time, causing the two-faced monster to flow backward for 3 seconds. At this moment, Longao did not let go of this rare opportunity and directly used a soul attack. Soul attacks were very powerful, but they were also very dangerous. The slightest bit of carelessness could cause the opponent's soul to backfire and the consequences would be unimaginable. P.S. I didn't sleep last night and just took a nap. The 10th chapter has been delivered. Don't worry, the remaining 10 chapters will definitely be finished by today. Even if I have to stay up late tonight, I hope that everyone will reward Little Nine for his hard work. For those who exceed 200 renminbi, please leave a comment in the book review and Little Nine will thank you in the chapters. The more you reward, the more I will thank you. Chapter 258. Soul Attack. Longao's choice of Soul Attack had a 50/50th chance of success. Although Soul Attack could attack the opponent's soul, it would also backfire on the opponent's soul. Because of this, Longao was very careful every time he used Soul Attack. One had to admit that Longao's choice of Soul Attack this time was correct. In any case, Long Potian was still a peak Dao ancestor. Although he couldn't defeat the two-faced freak, it was more than enough to hold Tengu and Yaroji back. Because of this, Longao had the opportunity to attack the two-faced freak. Although the two's fusion technique was very powerful, their souls were very fragile. This was also why Soul Attack was known as the Overlord of Martial Arts. The Soul Attack successfully attacked the two-faced freak. Longao was overjoyed. Without the slightest hesitation, he rushed up and slashed down with the blood-sucking broadsword in his hand. This time, Longao didn't use any broadsword radiance. He was ready to use their blood as a sacrifice to the blood-sucking broadsword. Hearing the two-faced freak scream, although Long Potian didn't know what was going on, he didn't give up such an opportunity. When Longao moved, Long Potian also moved. The two of them, one in front and one behind, didn't give the two-faced freak any chance. However, Tengu and Yaroji forcibly suppressed the Soul Attack and split into two. From the two-faced freak, they turned into a man and a woman. They were Yaroji and Tengu who had just merged. Long Potian was overjoyed when he saw the two of them splitting up. Longao, you deal with Yaroji, I'll deal with Tengu. Okay, let's compete and see who's faster. One had to admit that Longao was really arrogant, but Longao did have the capital to be arrogant. Long Potian also laughed and said, okay, let's compete. You're courting death. Tengu and Yaroji's faces were gloomy to the extreme. Since the two of them merged, they had never been defeated. But now, they were forced to separate. Longao against Yaroji, Tengu against Long Potian. Hehe, little handsome brother, you have to feel sorry for this servant. This servant is very fragile. Looking at the disgusting androgynous appearance, Longao had goosebumps all over his body. He didn't want to waste any more words with Yaroji and directly punched her. Master, be careful of soul attacks. Hearing Long Fu's warning, Longao became extra careful. At this moment, Yaroji suddenly shot out a soul attack into his mind. However, Longao had been prepared for this and was able to successfully dissolve the soul attack. Longao was a little dazed, because he had never thought that Yaroji would actually know the so-called soul martial skill. It was precisely because of this that Longao started to be very careful. After all, no one knew when Yaroji would continue to attack his soul. However, what made Longao extremely depressed was that Enchantress didn't fight him head-on at all. She just used soul attacks, wave after wave, without giving Longao any chance to catch his breath. If a tiger doesn't show its might, you'll think I'm a sick cat. Since Yaroji didn't want to fight head-on and preferred soul attacks, then he would accompany her to the end. Just like this, Longao and Yaroji both stopped attacking and stood facing each other with a distance of about 1 meter. You send out a wave of soul attack, I send out a wave of soul attack, attacking each other's soul. Long Potian and Tengu's battle seemed dangerous, but it was actually not as good as Longao and Yaroji's soul battle. This was because once both of their soul attacks hit the other, the spirit beast would be at the mercy of the other when it was injured. It was precisely because of this that both Yaroji and Longao were carefully defending, afraid that the other's soul attack would hit them. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under normal circumstances, Longao and Yaroji's cultivation base was so far apart, so their soul power should be much weaker as well. However, Longao had always been cultivating his soul and soul attacks, so he wasn't any weaker than Yaroji. If Yaroji chose to fight head-on, it would be hard to tell who would win. But now, as the battle escalated, Longao was gaining the upper hand. Bam! Hit by Longao's soul attack, Yaroji's body shook violently. Luckily, she had dodged in time, or this attack would have taken her life. Yaroji was no fool. She knew that she was no match for the other party. So, she continued to attack while slowly moving back, wanting to regroup with Tengu. Once they were reunited, she wouldn't have to be afraid of the other party. Longao and Long Potian knew what the other party was trying to do. So, they didn't give them any chance and increased the intensity of their attacks. The strength and frequency of their soul attacks had increased by 1/3. Longao was risking his own soul power to destroy the other party in the shortest amount of time. One could imagine how tragic Yaroji and Tengu were. Long Potian, we admit defeat. You guys stop. Now that things had come to this, Tengu knew that if they continued fighting, they would die. So, they had no choice but to surrender. To a warrior, admitting defeat could be said to be the greatest humiliation. But compared to his life, humiliation was not worth mentioning. So in the end, Tengu still chose to admit defeat. But would Long Potian and Longao accept their surrender? If you don't remove the roots, it will grow again. Kill. Longao didn't even say a word and continued to attack. Don't you like soul attacks? I'll let you enjoy my soul attacks. At the beginning, Yaroji was able to resist for a while. But, perhaps because her state of mind had changed, she panicked and was directly hit by Longao's soul attack. Ah! She screamed miserably. Longao's second wave of soul attack and the third wave of soul attack came continuously, one after another, piercing Yaroji's soul fiercely. Yaroji's soul was being pierced by Longao's soul. Yaroji's soul was already very powerful for an ordinary warrior. Especially when Yaroji used a soul attack, it was even more difficult to find a match. However, Yaroji's luck was not good. He had encountered a freak whose soul was even stronger than his. Yaroji tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. She thought that using her soul attack to obliterate a small earthly emperor warrior was just a piece of cake. But when she really fought, she found that she was wrong. She was so wrong that she was beyond redemption. Yaroji's soul was riddled with holes from the attack. Finally, she couldn't hold on any longer. Plop, her entire body fell down. Longao didn't hesitate in the slightest and directly sent Yaroji's soul into the dragon seal space. In any case, Yaroji was a peak Dao ancestor warrior. Once her soul was refined by the blood pool, her strength couldn't be underestimated. Chapter 259. The Sunflower Scripture. Longao wasn't worried about Long Potian and Tengu's battle at all because he had full confidence in Long Potian. Longao immediately went to Yaroji's side and reached out his hand, resisting his nausea as he searched for something on Yaroji's body. Just as expected. Longao took out a scroll from Yaroji's bosom and opened it. There were 4 words written on it, the so-called Sunflower Scripture. Long Potian had just obtained the Sunflower Scripture when he struck Tengu's head with his palm, ending the battle. From then on, both Yaroji and Tengu had been defeated. Not only had they lost, but they had also lost their lives. Longao, are you going to cultivate the Sunflower Scripture? Long Potian was shocked to see Longao holding the Sunflower Scripture. He said somewhat anxiously, Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. Although the Sunflower Scripture is very powerful, it will turn you into a woman. You should think twice before you act. Longao was quite depressed at Long Potion's words. Since when did he want to cultivate the Sunflower Scripture? Longao was very tempted by the power of the Sunflower Scripture. Let alone him, he believed that no matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to resist this temptation. However, Longao wasn't willing to become a woman if he wanted to cultivate the Sunflower Scripture. He bitterly smiled and said, Brother Potian, you misunderstand. I'm just curious to see what the Sunflower Scripture is. I don't want to become a woman yet. Long Potian nodded. He seemed to be injured and said, let's rest first. Long Potian immediately sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. Longao ignored Long Potian and opened the scroll. The first page had the words Sunflower Scripture written on it. When he opened the second page, Longao froze in place when he saw the words on it. If you want to cultivate a divine art, you have to castrate yourself with a blade. You have to refine pills and take medicine. Below it was written, today's Qi cultivation Tao is nothing more than thoughts and guidance. Heaven and earth are divided into clear and turbid to create life. Man's Qi cultivation Tao is nothing more than refining the void and purifying the turbid. Qi is the master of life, form is the use of the body. Heaven and earth can be reversed, and there is also a way for men and women to transform into each other. This Tao must not be taught lightly. To cultivate this technique, one must first nurture one's heart, so that one's heart will not be distracted by distracting thoughts and will be detached from worldly affairs. If one's heart is distracted by distracting thoughts, not only will it be useless, but it will also endanger one's life. After reading the first 2 sentences of the Sunflower Manual, Longao was completely dumbfounded. If you want to practice divine skills, you have to castrate yourself. Now, Longao finally understood why those who cultivated the Sunflower Manual would become women. What a terrifying martial skill. Longao flipped to the 3rd page and skimmed through it. Longao yearned for the Qi refinement Tao recorded in the book. If you want to practice divine skills, you have to castrate yourself. If he doesn't castrate himself, he'll have to work hard. Heat rose from his body, igniting his body. From the bottom to the top, it was restless and chaotic. Even if the fever had stopped, the injuries would not stop. After castration, true Qi would be generated by itself. It flowed into his dantian without any hindrance. In the method of generating Qi, the expression of contemplation is bitter. Detest bitterness and give up separation in order to attain tranquility. After tranquility, the hands would be like flowers. Qi would circulate around the Ren meridian and various acupoints, converging into the dantian. After the Qi was formed, the person would be reborn, incomparably wonderful. Then, he flipped to the 4th page and saw what was recorded on it. Longao was stunned for a moment. Men cultivate Qi, women cultivate blood. Dual cultivation of Qi and blood, achieving twice the result with half the effort. Qi flourishes and blood flourishes, but in the end, one needs to focus on one type. Qi is the guide, blood is the medium. Men focus on yang, women focus on yin. If men and women can receive the righteous Qi of heaven and earth, they can move heaven and earth. The method in between is to protect the kidneys, obtain lead, nourish the heart, obtain mercury. The rise and fall of lead and mercury meet in a golden cauldron to form a pill. Without a foundation, lead and mercury will not be generated. The method of dual cultivation of yin and yang. Longao was very clear in his heart what the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang represented in the Sunflower Manual. But when he thought of the fusion of Tiango and Yaroji just now, he couldn't help but shiver. Looking for me. Longao didn't know why Long Fu was looking for him at this time, but he still communicated with the dragon seal with his soul and entered the dragon seal space. Long Fu, why are you looking for me? Master, the Sunflower Manual you just obtained was created by a super expert. Unless you have no other choice, you absolutely cannot cultivate it. So it was about this. Longao smiled and said, Long Fu, don't worry. I still don't want to become a woman, so no matter when or what happens, I won't cultivate the Sunflower Manual. Master, although you can't cultivate the Sunflower Manual, you can still try out the path of Qi cultivation and the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang. This way, your cultivation will increase even faster. Just now, he had roughly looked through the path of Qi cultivation in the Sunflower Manual. It really was very powerful. Even without Long Fu saying anything, Longao was already prepared to cultivate the path of Qi cultivation. As for the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang, it would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted. No matter what, Longao was a normal man. If he could enjoy the pleasures of sex while increasing his strength, wouldn't that be wonderful? Master, when you cultivate the method of dual cultivation of yin and yang, you absolutely must be careful. Give me the Sunflower Manual, and I'll make some changes to the path of Qi cultivation and yin and yang dual cultivation. You shouldn't have any side effects. Longao nodded. He didn't want himself and his loved ones to become two-faced freaks. After giving the Sunflower Manual to Long Fu, Longao left the Dragon Seal space. Just now, he had used a soul attack to erase Yaroji. Longao's soul had been greatly exhausted. He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately sat down to recover his soul. One on the left and one on the right, Longao and Long Potian were quietly recuperating. After an unknown amount of time, the two of them opened their eyes at the same time. They looked at each other and saw a trace of friendship in each other's eyes. Big Brother Potian. Brother Long. Suddenly, Longao and Long Potian laughed loudly. After laughing for a while, Long Potian suddenly said, "Brother Long, now that we've found the entrance to the tomb, why don't you and I go in and check it out?" Longao was afraid that Long Potian would go to the tomb. He wanted to persuade him, but when the words reached his mouth, he abruptly swallowed them back down. When had he become so timid? Thinking of this, Longao nodded and said, "No problem. I also want to see what's inside the tomb." The two saw a trace of determination in each other's eyes. Inside the dragon seal space. Hearing that Longao wanted to go to the tomb, Long Fu didn't become angry at all. Instead, a trace of praise appeared on his face. He muttered to himself, bravely moving forward, unafraid of danger. "Master didn't choose the wrong person. I also didn't choose the wrong person." Looking at the blood pool in front of him, Long Fu's eyes revealed an unprecedented trace of sadness. He said with a resolute voice, "Master, I will definitely avenge you. No matter how difficult this path is, don't worry, I will definitely do it." The new master's cultivation is rising very quickly. I believe that revenge won't be far away. Hearing Long Fu's words, the blood in the blood pool suddenly began to roil as if venting something. "Master, I know what to do." Chapter 260. Longao and Long Potian entered the Black Channel. It was pitch black, and they couldn't even see their own fingers. "Brother Long, the ancient tomb is extremely dangerous. You have to be careful." Longao nodded. Ever since they had entered the Black Channel, he had been extremely careful. The entire Black Channel was sloping downwards. In other words, the two of them were going down until they reached the bottom of the valley. "There's light." Seeing a glimmer of light not far away, the two of them were overjoyed and immediately quickened their pace. In a short while, they had already reached the end of the Black Tunnel. Looking at the space in front of them, both Longao and Long Potian were dumbfounded. So this is the so-called ancient tomb. He was shocked. Following their gazes, they saw a boundless space in front of them. Black mist curled around it, and the aura of vengeful spirits filled the air. Ghostly wails and sinister winds blew. Not only that, but there were also tombs in this space. There were no tombstones, and it was impossible to tell who they were. Longao and Long Potian exchanged a glance. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. The two of them knew that the corpses in these tombs belonged to famous martial artists of the martial heaven continent from 1,000 years ago. It was just that they had died in a great battle. "Longao, have you noticed the problem?" "Yes. Since countless people died in that great battle 1,000 years ago, who was it that built this underground tomb? It's hard to imagine what the consequences would be if such powerful vengeful spirits were released." Without even needing to get close, Longao could clearly sense just how powerful these vengeful spirits were. Vengeful spirits were very simple. After a martial artist died, their souls would gather together and not scatter. Their resentment would remain in their souls, and over time, they would become vengeful spirits. The resentment of vengeful spirits was extremely powerful. Furthermore, there were tens of thousands of them. "Brother Long, are we still going in?" Sensing the powerful vengeful spirit army, Long Potian, who had been brimming with confidence, suddenly felt the urge to retreat. He helplessly looked at Longao. Shrugging, Longao indifferently said, "It's best if we leave for now. This kind of good thing is best left to others." "All right, let's go." The two of them didn't want to stay for another minute, so they turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, the terrifying army of wraiths began to form a powerful tornado. Before the two of them could escape, they were sucked in by the tornado of wraiths and dragged in. Feeling such a terrifying suction force, Longao and Long Potian were both shocked. Of course, the two of them knew what had happened. In their fear, they didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest. They used all of their strength to try and break free from the suction force. However, the suction force of the army of vengeful spirits was too terrifying. It did not give Longao and Long Potian the slightest chance to escape. Thump, thump. They fell heavily to the ground and made intimate contact with the ground. At this moment, the two of them did not care about any pain at all. They turned around and directly shot toward the black tunnel. However, it was easy to enter, but difficult to leave. Before Longao and Long Potian could leave, the army of vengeful spirits had already charged toward them. They all looked ferocious, and their mouths were wide open. They looked extremely terrifying. Long Potian was in complete despair. Although he was very powerful, he was at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. Unless a void cultivator came, he was not afraid of anyone. However, Long Potian was helpless against this so-called army of vengeful spirits. Even if he could barely resist, he would only be able to resist for a while, but not forever. Brother Potian, what are you doing? Seeing that Long Potian seemed to have chosen to give up, Longao was shocked. He didn't know what was going on with Long Potian at this moment. Was he going to give up just like that? Brother Long, we're dead. Hearing this, Longao almost fell down. He didn't even try and chose to give up. He scolded fiercely, "Are you still a cultivator? Pull yourself together. As long as we don't die, we have a chance to leave." Long Potian, who had already chosen to give up, looked at Longao and saw that Longao was determined to not give up. He gritted his teeth and said with a laugh, "Brother Long, you're right. We can't give up until the last moment." As he spoke, Long Potian had already rushed out, but he was pulled back by Longao. "Brother Long, what are you doing?" He was very confused. He had clearly chosen to persist, so why did he pull him back? "Brother Potian, you're behind me." Longao didn't care whether Long Potian could understand or not. He had already started to attack. He suddenly punched out with both fists, and all the power in his body gathered in his fists. The reason why Longao was so confident was that when he went through the Thunder Tribulation, not only did he integrate the power of the Thunder Tribulation, but he could also use the power of the Thunder Tribulation to fight against enemies. However, the power of the Thunder Tribulation was the nemesis of souls. Longao didn't use the Divine Dragon Arm and the Hell Tiger Arm. He only integrated the power of the Blood-Drinking 8 styles and the power of the Thunder Tribulation. As expected, the fist shadows danced wildly. Perhaps it was because the fist energy was too dense, but the fist shadows directly formed a shield and integrated with the power of the Thunder Tribulation. The great army of vengeful spirits surrounded the two of them. However, they were afraid of the fist shadow chi cover and did not dare to attack. Longao continuously smashed out fist shadows, but his heart was extremely depressed. Although he had temporarily blocked the great army of vengeful spirits, this was not a long-term plan. Longao knew that there would be a time when he couldn't hold on anymore. At that time, only death would await him. How could Long Potian not know about Longao's situation? "Brother Long, what should we do now? Follow me." Longao and Long Potian did not dare to stay any longer. The moment they relaxed, they would be drowned by the army of vengeful spirits and die without a burial ground. It was precisely because of this that the two of them slowly walked towards the black tunnel under the cover of the fist shadows. As long as they left the space of the tomb and entered the black tunnel, everything would be fine. The army of wraiths didn't know their intention. It was impossible for them to let them go. Although they were afraid of the fist shadows, they still chose to throw themselves at it like moths to a flame. "Brother Long, let me help you." Long Potion's palms directly pressed on Longao's back, and he continuously transferred the power in his body to him. Anyway, Long Potian was a warrior at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm. He was very powerful, even more powerful than Dugu Bai. Longao, who gradually felt that he couldn't hold on, suddenly became energetic with the infusion of Long Potion's power. He roared, and the fist shadows became more powerful. However, the army of wraiths was not afraid at all. They still chose to throw themselves at the two of them from afar like moths to a flame. Chapter 261. The number of vengeful spirits was simply too huge. Under the constant attacks, even with Long Potion's help, Longao began to feel exhausted again. Not daring to continue hesitating, He attacked the vengeful spirit army while his soul entered the dragon seal space. The matter was urgent, so Longao couldn't wait to get straight to the point. Long Fu, I'm being attacked by the vengeful spirit army. Is there any way for us to leave? Sea of Flames. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao didn't linger at all. He didn't continue to smash his fists, but took out his blood-sucking blade and directly used the third style of the blood-sucking 8 styles, Sea of Flames. Vengeful spirits, in addition to the power of lightning tribulation, had another nemesis, the power of fire. The blood-sucking blade itself was too fierce, and combined with the blood-sucking 8 styles, it was even more powerful. Among the 8 styles, the third style, Sea of Flames, was a group attack that was just right to deal with the vengeful spirits. Not only that, but Longao also fused the power of lightning tribulation into the blade light. In this way, the power of lightning tribulation combined with the Sea of Flames, Longao's blade light caused the vengeful spirits to avoid it. They didn't dare to meet force with force. With the blood-sucking blade in hand, Longao was like a god of war at this moment, sweeping away thousands of enemies and invincible. Feeling the blade light released by Longao, Long Potion's face was very surprised because he never thought that Longao's strength had reached such a level. The number one person under nothingness. Even if he was unwilling to admit it, Long Potion was still very clear that with Longao's current strength, even he might not be his opponent. Just like this, under the dancing blade light, Longao and Long Potion continued to move toward the entrance. Brother Long, the passage is gone. Ah! Hearing Long Potion's words, Longao jumped in fright and looked over. Sure enough, the black passageway that was still there just now had already disappeared without a trace. This time, Longao and Long Potion's faces were extremely gloomy. Now that the only exit was gone and there was an endless stream of vengeful spirits attacking, what was the point of them continuing to resist? Longao and Long Potion knew very well in their hearts that unless they could wipe out all the vengeful spirits around them, they would only die if this continued. What should they do? Although the black passage had disappeared, Longao still didn't choose to give up. Brother Long, if I'm not mistaken, this tomb is a huge illusion array. We're in big trouble this time. Illusion? Big Brother Potion, what is that? Longao didn't know anything about the illusory formation that Long Potion was talking about. Immediately after, Long Potion roughly explained the situation of the illusory formation as quickly as possible. So that was the case. After listening to Long Potion's introduction of the illusion array, Longao was also very surprised. Illusion was one of the most powerful formations. Once you fell into an illusion, everything you saw would change. In other words, everything you saw wouldn't be real. There were even some illusory arrays that had killing arrays inside. Once a martial artist was trapped, wanting to break out of the array would not be an easy task. There weren't many formation masters in the martial heaven continent. That was because the requirements to become a formation master were too harsh. It was precisely because they were so rare that they weren't valued by martial artists. However, that didn't mean they weren't powerful. That was why Longao and Long Potion were even more curious. They didn't know who had set up such a powerful illusion formation here. Master, this illusion formation is the sealing power of this tomb, so you can't break it. Otherwise, once it breaks, the army of vengeful spirits will break out. At that time, the world will descend into chaos, said Long Potion. The illusion formation was the sealing power. Once the illusion formation was broken, the army of vengeful spirits would break out? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked in his heart. His face became even uglier because he knew that if the illusion array was not broken, then they would never be able to leave this place. It wouldn't take long. He believed that after a few more hours, once his stamina was exhausted, he could only wait for death. Long Fu, what should I do? Master, there is only one way. That is to use the dragon seal space to absorb the army of vengeful spirits. Longao curiously asked, Long Fu, didn't you already say that the dragon seal space is unable to refine these vengeful spirits? Long Fu had already said that he was unable to refine these so-called vengeful spirits. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to wait for Tiango and Yaroji to open the entrance. Master, The blood pool is indeed unable to refine these vengeful spirits. However, I can forcibly absorb them. At that time, I will fall into a deep sleep for 100 years. A deep sleep for 100 years. Longao was shocked when he heard that. He impatiently said, Long Fu, you can't do that. All right, I'll take care of this. What kind of joke was this? Longao clearly knew that 80% of the reason why he could have his current achievements was because of the dragon seal space. If Long Fu were to fall into a deep sleep for 100 years, what would he do? Because of this, Longao didn't even think about it and directly rejected Long Fu's request. Without giving Long Fu any chance to speak, Longao left the dragon seal space. Brother Long, let's give up. Since things had already reached this stage, Long Potian didn't want to continue. At this moment, Long Potian regretted coming in. Why did he have to come in when everything was fine? Not to mention Long Potian, even Longao himself wanted to give up. But was he really going to give up? Back then, he had fallen from the #1 genius of Scarlet Fire Town to the #1 trash and had been humiliated for 10 whole years. However, he had persevered for 10 whole years. He had persevered for 10 whole years, so how could he easily give up now? Brother Potian, we can't give up until the very last moment. Ari. Long Potian deeply sighed. Although his heart was filled with unwillingness, he knew that the two of them definitely wouldn't be able to leave this time. The surrounding vengeful spirit army had already stopped attacking, but he clearly knew that once Long Ming's saber disappeared, the vengeful spirit army would mercilessly devour the two of them. Long Potian chose to give up. Longao chose to persevere. Just on this point alone, Long Potian was already inferior to Longao. Just as Longao was about to give up, a tiger's roar rang out. Immediately after, Long Ming appeared in front of Longao. He coldly stared at the surrounding vengeful spirits and let out another tiger's roar that resounded through the entire tomb. The roar rolled out. Chapter 262. Netherworld Tiger. Long Potian seemed a little surprised. After all, he didn't expect Longao to have such a little fellow by his side. Long Ming, come back. Shaking his head, Longao communicated with Long Ming. He helplessly discovered that the little fellow wanted to help him devour these wraiths. He was shocked. After all, even Long Fu couldn't do anything about these wraiths, let alone the little fellow. However, before Longao could make a move, Long Ming's small body had already shot out. Long Ming's speed was very fast. He was like a ghost. No matter how powerful the wraiths were, Long Ming would devour them without hesitation. In the end, Longao and Long Potion's luck was pretty good. If it were a few hundred years ago, they probably wouldn't even be able to withstand the first wave of attacks if they entered the tomb. However, the wraith's strength had decreased a lot after being sealed for so many years. It was precisely because of this that the little fellow could devour them without any scruples. However, no matter what, there were simply too many wraiths here. It was almost impossible for Long Ming to devour all of them by himself. However, Longao was powerless. With his strength, he couldn't do anything other than wait on the spot. Master, hurry up and stop the little fellow. If it continues to devour, I'm afraid it will explode and die. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He immediately flew over and hugged the little fellow who was devouring wraiths. Long Ming, I know you want to help me, but if you want to exchange your life for mine, I'd rather die than you. Hearing this, the little fellow completely quieted down. Master, send the little fellow into the dragon seal space. Longao nodded. Of course, he knew the seriousness of the matter. The little fellow had devoured so many wraiths. If anything happened to it, he would definitely feel guilty for the rest of his life. The little fellow had just been sent into the dragon seal space. Before Long Potian and Longao could react, the two of them had already fainted. That's right, the two of them had indeed fainted. Under normal circumstances, if the two of them were to faint at this time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Sure enough, as soon as the two of them fainted, countless vengeful spirits pounced on Longao and Long Potian. However, at this moment, A small black seal suddenly floated out from Longao's chest. An ancient dragon's roar reverberated throughout the entire tomb. Following that, the figure of a huge dragon appeared. It slowly opened its eyes and looked around coldly. All the vengeful spirits that were pouncing towards it fled in all directions in fear, like mice that had seen a cat. Contempt was written all over the dragon's face. It just smiled and suddenly emitted a powerful aura. It was ancient, cold, gloomy, terrifying, and powerful. It directly enveloped all the vengeful spirits. The originally incomparably powerful vengeful spirit was enveloped by the dragon's breath and directly turned into an endless number of vengeful spirits, disappearing without a trace. Seemingly a little tired, the dragon didn't even want to move. It directly turned into a stream of light and entered the dragon seal space. The small black seal also returned to Longao's body. Regarding all of this, whether it was Longao or Long Potian, neither of them knew what had happened. After about 6 hours, Longao and Long Potian slowly woke up. They looked at each other, then stood up abruptly. You look at me, I look at you, and then look at their surroundings. Both of them were completely stunned. Brother Long, just what happened? I don't know, all the vengeful spirits have disappeared. The two of them looked at the empty tomb and helplessly shrugged. But no matter what, now that the vengeful spirits had disappeared for no reason, they could be considered to have saved their lives. It could be considered a blessing in the midst of misfortune. Brother Long, we should leave this place as soon as possible. Perhaps because he was really scared, Long Potian wanted nothing more than to leave the cave. However, Longao waved his hand and said, Brother Potian, all the vengeful spirits have disappeared. Since we're here, why don't we look for it? Long Potian nodded. Since Longao had said so, Long Potian wouldn't refuse. Although all the vengeful spirits had disappeared, Long Potian was still very careful. He focused 120% of his attention on looking around. He didn't have the slightest intention to look for the so-called treasure. Longao didn't care. After escaping from death, the army of vengeful spirits had finally disappeared. If he missed this opportunity, even he would despise himself. The entire tomb space was filled with tombs at a glance. Longao didn't search blindly because he knew very well that there were strong and weak cultivators in the war back then, so he had to seize the opportunity. If he searched one by one, who knew how long it would take? Until now, Longao didn't know how the army of vengeful spirits disappeared, so he had to leave this place as soon as possible. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if the army of vengeful spirits reappeared? Longao quietly stood in place and quietly released his aura. He sensed all the tombs, one tomb after another. No corpses. He couldn't sense any aura. Longao was very shocked. He was almost certain that under all the tombs, there were no corpses. What was going on? There were spirits but no corpses. Seeing Longao's serious expression, Long Potian was very curious. He walked over and asked, Brother Long, what happened? Longao didn't hide anything. He said seriously, Brother Potian, I just sensed it, so I can confirm that there are no corpses outside these tombs. Chem. Hearing this, Long Potian was also shocked. There were no corpses in the tombs. Then what were the vengeful spirits that just appeared? Where did the corpses go? They couldn't have been robbed, right? Long Potian and Longao didn't believe that someone would dare to rob the tombs. What kind of joke was this? The two of them had seen with their own eyes how terrifying the army of vengeful spirits was. How could there be only spirits and no corpses? For some reason, Longao and Long Potian felt that something was wrong with this matter. However, the two of them could not tell what was wrong. Brother Long, something is wrong. I think we should leave this place. Nodding, Longao didn't want to ask about this. After all, there were no corpses in the tombs. This matter was indeed very strange, but it wasn't something they could deal with. So Longao and Long Potian prepared to leave. Hehe, since you're here, why are you leaving so quickly? After so many years, I've been so lonely, so lonely. Just as the two of them were about to leave, they suddenly heard a sinister voice. Long Potian said coldly, Who is sneaking around? Come out if you have the ability. P.S. My friend's Xuanhuan novel, Demonic God Celestial, a very good novel. Chapter 263. He. A sinister laughter rang out, causing Longao and Long Potion's hairs to stand on end. Who in the world are you? Come out if you've got what it takes. Coward. You want to see me? All right, I'm in a pretty good mood today. I'll come out and see you guys then. Just then, a figure walked out from the depths of the black abyss. He was dressed entirely in black, emitting a sinister aura. When the both of them caught sight of the face of the man in black, both of them screamed out in shock. This man was none other than Huoteng, who had just been killed. That's right, it was Huoteng. Swallowing his saliva, Long Potion tried his best to suppress the fear in his heart and asked, Who in the world are you? He, times have changed. It doesn't matter if you don't know me. But from now on, you guys must remember that my name is Evil. He. Yet another sinister laugh. Evil? Looking at the man in black who had appeared out of nowhere, Longao and Long Potion were absolutely certain that this man in black was not the Huoteng they were talking about. He had just used some secret skill to steal Huoteng's corpse. Longao and Long Potion were on high alert. They could sense the terror of this man in black, so they were exceptionally wary. Kid, you're not bad. Whether I'm wrong or not is none of your business. Hey, what an interesting kid. Seeing that you're to my liking, I'll spare your life. But, you have to hand over 2 things. Longao did not reply. Who the hell knew what the other party wanted? Did he have to agree to kill himself? Kid, give me the 9 Netherworld Earth Tiger you've just summoned. F***ck off, I'm not giving you the little fella. Before Evil could even finish, Longao had rejected him. What a joke. To think that he would want his little fella. He. Without any hint of anger, Evil continued, other than the 9 Netherworld Earth Tiger, you have to hand over the Dragon Seal. Dragon Seal? Hearing that the other party actually wanted the Dragon Seal, although Longao did not show any expression on his face, he was already extremely shocked. This was because no one knew that he had the Dragon Seal. Even the people closest to him, his parents, Yu Yin, grandfather, and Aoshua did not know. How did this black-clothed man know? Are you curious as to how I know you have a Dragon Seal? Longao didn't say anything because he was really curious as to how the black-clothed man knew. He, kid, don't talk nonsense. Hand over the Dragon Seal and the 9 Nether Earthworm Tiger and I will let you go. Otherwise, I will let your souls suffer the greatest pain in the world. He. Longao and Long Potion's expressions were rather ugly. After all, the evil demon before them was far too powerful. Even if they worked together, they wouldn't be a match for it. Don't even think about trying to escape. I can tell you clearly that with your strength, I can capture you at any time. Do you believe me? Believe. Longao and Long Potion did not doubt him at all. However, they did not intend to compromise. This was especially the case for Longao. Be it the little fella or the Dragon Seal, there was no way he was going to hand them over. He. The evil demon did not continue speaking. He merely let out a sinister laugh that was so creepy that it was as though they were in the depths of hell. Handing over the little fella and the Dragon Seal to you is not a problem. Brother Long. Hearing that Longao was really going to hand over the little fella and the Dragon Seal, Long Potion was shocked. He wanted to say something but was stopped by Longao with a wave of his hand. Evil demon, I'm not a problem with handing them over to you. I'm just asking about your identity. How about we show some sincerity? He. Sincerity? Hearing Longao's words, the evil demon laughed out coldly as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. His face was filled with contempt as he snorted coldly, Kid, what rights do you have? Destroy both jade and stone together. These 4 simple words were enough to express Longao's intentions. Hearing these words, the evil demon's face turned grim. Even though his strength was way above the both of them, if the other party were to choose to destroy both jade and stone together with the 9 Netherworld Tiger and the Dragon Seal, wouldn't that mean that all his efforts would be for naught? Even though his face was dark to the extreme, the evil demon did not reject nor agree. He muttered to himself, "I don't remember who I am anymore. All I remember is that I am the incarnation of the evil demon. Back in the Great War, I lost to my enemy and fell here. To think that my soul would not dissipate in this place." The evil demon did not continue speaking, nor did he reveal his identity. Perhaps it was because he was reminded of the sad past that the evil demon went silent within his consciousness. Just as he was about to continue speaking, he realized that something was wrong. Raising his head, he realized that the both of them had long disappeared. Without a single bit of anger, the evil demon laughed coldly. "I refuse to believe that you guys can escape from my palms." As soon as he finished speaking, the evil demon's figure had already disappeared without a trace. The two of them entered the black passage and did not dare to hesitate. They sped up and rushed outside. In a short while, they had already left the black passage and appeared in the valley. Letting out a long sigh of relief, Long Potian said with lingering fear, "What a powerful aura. Brother Long, if I'm not mistaken, this person should be an expert at the peak of the void level." However, his soul was injured. Even if he took over Huoteng's body, it wouldn't be easy for him to recover to his peak strength. Nodding, Longao knew very well what the peak of the void level represented. At the 8th level of the void level, the peak was a world emperor. Even if the evil demon's original body was damaged and his soul was injured, it was still not something that the two of them could contend against. "Brother Long, what should we do now? If I'm not mistaken, the evil demon won't let this go. We're in big trouble." "Hehe, you guys are indeed in big trouble. Boy, hand over the 9 Serenities Netherworld Tiger and the Dragon Seal. Otherwise, I will follow you and kill everyone around you. Hee." Looking at the evil demon that suddenly appeared in front of them, Longao and Long Potian were stunned and immediately turned to leave. However, the evil demon did not chase after them. He just stood there with a cold smile. The evil demon was full of confidence. After leaving the valley, Longao and Long Potian had no intention to continue staying in the Scarlet Sky World, let alone continue to participate in the so-called Battle of the 9 States. After all, the evil demon was too powerful. If they continued to stay in the Scarlet Sky World, they would only be controlled by the evil demon. Longao and Long Potian were still a little lucky. After all, the evil demon was sealed in the Scarlet Sky World. If the two of them left and the evil demon could not leave the Scarlet Sky World, then everything would be peaceful. Because of this, Longao and Long Potian shot all the way to the exit. In a short while, they had already arrived in front of the stone gate of the Scarlet Sky World. Chapter 264. In front of the stone gate. "Brother Potian, what's wrong?" "Brother Long, we can't go out like this. According to the rules of the Battle of the 9 States, if we leave before the 3-month deadline, we will be attacked by the 9 families." He cursed in his heart, but since there was such a rule in the Battle of the 9 States, Longao couldn't fight against the 9 sects alone. It was probably unrealistic. However, Long Potian said, "Brother Long, don't worry. I have a path to leave. Let's go." Longao didn't ask much. He knew that as a friend, there were things he should ask and things he shouldn't ask. In this way, the two left the Scarlet Sky World at the fastest speed, but they never found that there was a figure following behind them. Even if it was only 10 meters away, the two still couldn't find the trace of the evil spirit. Outside the Scarlet Sky World, the two finally breathed a sigh of relief. Long Potian said, "Brother Long, we left the Scarlet Sky World in advance. Why don't you come back with me to the Long family? I will take you to that place later. I believe it will be of great help to your cultivation breakthrough." "Okay." Longao also planned to go and see. After all, what he needed most now was strength, so he wouldn't choose to give up anything that could improve his strength. The Scarlet Province was dominated by the 9 families and the 4 empires. However, as everyone knew, the 9 families would not intervene in the secular affairs at all, so the secular world was dominated by the 4 empires. In the Scarlet Province, the 9 families would not come out to support any of the 4 empires, and let them develop. After so many years, the 4 empires had almost reached a state of saturation. In fact, The 9 families were most willing to see the 4 empires in a state of balance. The Long family was considered weak among the 9 families, but even so, the other families didn't dare to ask the Long family for help. The reason was very simple, that was, the Long family had a Long family behind them. Although the Long family wouldn't intervene in the affairs of the low-level families, there was always a possibility. Moreover, the Long family had a super genius that hadn't been seen in 100 years, Long Potian. Long Potian had reached the peak of the Dao ancestor realm at the age of 25, and was ranked first on the Scarlet Province list. As everyone knew, the Long family had a ranking, the Dragon ranking. As long as one could enter the Dragon ranking, they would be able to soar into the sky and enter the Long family to cultivate. According to Long Potion's talent and potential, it was only a matter of time before he entered the Dragon rankings. It was because of this that the Long family was not the strongest in the Crimson Province, but they were the most popular. Perhaps Longao was too impatient, but he didn't follow Long Potian back to the Long family. Instead, he went straight to the place where he could improve his strength. Big Brother Potian, where is this place? Brother Long, you must remember that this matter must be kept a secret because other than the 9 great sects, no other clan or sect knows about this place in the Crimson Province, including those in the Tianju. Long Ao's curiosity was piqued, but he still nodded. Brother Long, back then when the 9 states had just been divided, the Crimson State was under the control of the 9 great clans. I accidentally found a place called the 99 Celestial Stairs. According to the rumors, as long as one could climb the highest celestial stairs, a rainbow would cross the sky, and the sound of the heavens would ring throughout the Crimson State. Furthermore, the higher the celestial stairs, the more helpful it would be for one's future cultivation. 99 Celestial Stairs. Only an idiot wouldn't be moved after hearing Long Potion's words. Long Ao became more and more excited, and he couldn't wait to go to the 99 Celestial Stairs. Brother Long, the outside of the 99 Celestial Stairs is also called the 99 Celestial Stairs. Every celestial stairs will have a different feeling. You can try to sense and experience it. Can I go in? Since the 99 celestial stairs were occupied by the 9 great clans, they definitely wouldn't let outsiders enter easily. Since that was the case, could he enter the 99 celestial stairs? Brother Long, don't worry. Although you're from the Long family of the Crimson Fire town in the Tianju, you're still a member of the Long family. You don't have to say anything. Just leave everything to me. Nodding, Long Ao asked, Big Brother Potian, how many celestial stairs have you climbed? When the 99 celestial stairs was mentioned, Long Potion's face was filled with pride. He said, in the past 1,000 years, the highest was the 60th celestial stairs, but I've only climbed the 29th celestial stairs. I'm the first in the past 100 years. The 29th celestial stairs? If it was just about how difficult it was to climb the celestial stairs, one wouldn't have the slightest idea. But now, Long Ao finally understood what the 99 celestial stairs represented. Even Long Potian had only climbed the 20th celestial stairs, and he was the first in the past 100 years. This in itself already explained everything. But Long Ao was still looking forward to climbing the 99 celestial stairs. The sky beyond. Located in the middle of the Chilean mountains, it was guarded by the experts of the 9 great clans. Not to mention entering the sky beyond, ordinary people wouldn't even have heard of it. If the matter of the sky beyond was leaked out and the forces of the other 8 states knew about it, there would definitely be an endless stream of people pouring in. At that time, the sky beyond wouldn't be exclusive to the Crimson Prefecture, but to all 9 states. Because of this, very few people knew about the sky beyond. Even the disciples of the 9 great clans didn't know about it. This was also the agreement of the 9 great clans. The intention of the 9 great clans was very simple. They wanted to have their own sky beyond. Long Ao understood this very well. After all, the good things had to be left for themselves. Brother Long, you have to give me this opportunity because each of us only has one chance to enter the sky beyond heaven every year. Back then, when I reached the 29th step of the celestial stairway, the 9 great clans rewarded me with 2 chances every year. I didn't go this year, so now, I'll give you one chance. Thank you. Longao didn't say much. He just had to remember this kindness in his heart. Brother Long, with your talent and potential, if nothing unexpected happens, you should be able to climb the 30th celestial stairs. You will replace me and become the first in 100 years. Longao shrugged helplessly. Although he was very confident in his talent, he didn't dare to say much about the 99 celestial stairs. After all, even Long Potian had only climbed the 29th celestial stairs. Just think about it, and he knew how difficult it was. In the middle of the Chilean mountains, there was a huge mountain range that spanned the entire Chilean mountains. The sky beyond was in the middle. From the outside, one could only see pieces of white clouds. It was impossible to see the situation inside. Brother Long, this is the sky beyond of the Chilean mountains. The 99 celestial stairs are inside. Don't talk nonsense later. No matter what happens, you just have to remember one thing. Endure, because this opportunity is very important to you. You must not give up. Nodding, Longao said, I understand. P.S. 17 chapters have been delivered. I accidentally fell asleep last night. The remaining 3 chapters will be delivered in the afternoon. As for today, there will be 4 chapters. From tomorrow onwards, there will be 10 chapters per day for a month. Please support Little 9. Tip, bookmark, and give monthly votes. Chapter 265. Chilean Mountain, Sky Beyond Sky. 9 Seniors, I'm going to climb the 99 steps again this time. I'll give my other chance to Brother Long. The 9 guardians of the sky beyond heaven came from the 9 great clans. The 9 of them guarded this place all year round, never leaving even for a moment. It was because of this that Long Potian admired the 9 of them. Originally, Long Potian and Longao thought that the 9 people would stop them, and this matter would be very difficult to handle. However, what Long Potian and Longao did not expect was that the 9 people did not stop them at all, and directly let them in. After giving Longao a look, Long Potian and Longao quickened their pace. In a short while, the 2 of them disappeared without a trace. Inside the huge mountain range of Chilean Mountain. Looking at the rolling mountain range, Longao was surprised. He didn't expect there to be such a marvelous scene in the world. He had to admit that Sky Beyond Sky was hidden well. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to find this place. Moreover, the 9 great clans deliberately hid this place. For so many years, the news of Sky Beyond Sky didn't spread. Brother Long, ignore the others. What's wrong? The people who came here are the genius disciples of the various clans. Although the 9 great clans chose to cooperate temporarily for Sky Beyond Sky, the 9 great clans have always been incompatible. So that's why. Nodding, Longao was stunned. He stared at both sides with shock written all over his face. Brother Long, this is the legendary 99 steps of the heavenly stairs. Looking over, in front of Longao and Long Potian, a huge heaven stairway appeared. The heaven stairway had a total of 99 steps. Each step was 100 meters long and 10 meters wide. The entire heaven stairway could not be seen at all, because halfway up, the heaven stairway was already covered by white mist. The white mist lingered. It was shocking. Was this the legendary 99 steps stairway? At this moment, there were only a few people around. Because all the people on the wind cloud ranking had participated in the 9 states wind cloud ranking, the entire Sky Beyond Sky was silent. Brother Long, the 99 heavenly steps are also known as the 99 heavenly steps. Every time you climb a heavenly step, you will have a different feeling. In the past 1,000 years, no one has been able to reach the top, not even the 80th heavenly step. I hope you can create a legend. Longao didn't say anything. He stood quietly at the bottom of the stairway and looked up at the endless stairway. He was extremely shocked. The entire stairway to heaven seemed to connect the heavens and the earth together. It looked majestic. Longao had only seen this kind of heaven and earth wonder once, and that was the Mountain of Corpses. It was also because of this that he created his own martial skill, Heaven and Earth Sorrow. If he could create his own martial skill here, it would be too wonderful. Brother Long, suddenly waking up, Longao said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, this 99-step stairway is really too shocking. Long Potian didn't care at all. He laughed and said, "It's okay. When I saw the 99 steps for the first time, I was also deeply shocked. Brother Long, do you want to start now or do you want to prepare first?" "Let's start now." With such a rare opportunity, Longao naturally would not wait. He immediately took a step forward, and in a short while, he had already arrived at the foot of the heaven stairway. Longao raised his head and glanced at the 99 heavenly steps. He clenched his fists tightly and kept telling himself in his heart that no matter what happened, he had to climb the 99 heavenly steps. Finally, he took the first step. Longao had just stepped onto the first step of the celestial stairway when his entire body fell into a powerful pressure that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. If he had not been prepared beforehand, just this alone would have been enough to force Longao back. Taking a deep breath, Longao didn't dare to be careless. He channeled all the energy in his body into his feet. Finally, his other foot stepped onto the first step. Not far away. Seeing Longao step onto the first step, Long Potian clenched his fists and said, "Brother Long, I hope you won't disappoint me. As long as you can surpass the 30th step, both you and I will have a chance to break through the nothingness realm and go further." In Long Potion's eyes, being able to climb the 30th step was already amazing. At the very least, one's talent and potential was enough to break through the nothingness realm. Both of his feet had already landed on the first step. Although the pressure was terrifying, Longao still managed to persevere with ease. What kind of joke was this? If he couldn't even succeed on the first step, then he would have to re-evaluate his own talent and potential. After successfully stepping onto the first step, Longao didn't hesitate and immediately headed for the second step. It was still under the same pressure, but the power was a third stronger. Although it was only a third, Longao knew clearly that the second step was much more terrifying than the first. If he wasn't careful, he would fall. He had just stepped onto the second step of the 99 steps. According to Long Potian, the first 20 steps of the 99 steps were all under the pressure of gravity. With the strength of the earthly sovereign and Tao ancestor, stepping onto the first 20 steps was almost no problem. From the 21st step onwards, the pressure of gravity turned into pressure of aura. It was a qualitative change. As for the pressure of aura, Longao had already felt it when he stepped onto the 21st step. Because of this, Longao was 100% sure that this aura wasn't the so-called aura of heaven and earth, but a very powerful aura. He couldn't say what kind of power it was. If it was an ordinary warrior, they wouldn't be able to resist this aura, but Longao didn't feel the slightest pressure. Until now, Longao's face was still relaxed. It was just that he didn't understand the situation of the stairway at the beginning, so he looked particularly serious. Already on the 21st step, Longao had full confidence that with his talent, potential, and strength, he could reach Long Potion's height, which was the so-called 29th step. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. Longao had already successfully stepped onto the 29th heaven stairway. Only at this moment did Longao's expression start to become serious. He stood on the heaven stairway and did not immediately continue to step on it. Instead, he stood there quietly, recuperating while recovering his strength. With the 29th step, Longao's current achievement was tied with Long Potian. In other words, as long as Longao continued to climb one more step, he would surpass Long Potian. If Long Potian knew about this, he would be more surprised than amazed. The 29th step. Longao took a deep breath and didn't continue to hesitate. He finally stepped forward and continued to walk towards the 30th step. Just as he stepped onto the 30th step, Longao's face suddenly changed because he found that there was an aura attacking his soul on the 30th step. Chapter 266. Soul Attack. Longao was shocked. He couldn't understand why there would be a soul attack on the 30th step. At this moment, Longao finally understood why the 99 steps could increase a warrior's strength rapidly. First, there was the gravity suppression, now there was a soul attack. What about the future? Longao didn't retreat at all. Instead, he was looking forward to it. Longao was very clear in his heart that this situation was the best time for him to cultivate his soul attack. It was precisely because of this that Longao did not waste any time and energy. He directly chose to use a soul attack, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Longao's soul attack was very powerful. He attacked from all directions. Anyway, he couldn't see who was attacking him. Just like this, Longao slowly walked up the 31st step while using his soul attack. At the bottom of the stairs, looking at the 99 steps in front of him, Long Potion's face was filled with determination. In 10 years, he had collapsed a total of 12 times. However, he had never succeeded in reaching the 30th step. This was Long Potion's regret. This time, I will succeed. Long Potion resolutely stepped onto the 30th step. Perhaps because he was familiar with the path, Long Potion's speed was much faster than Longao's. Long Potion seemed to be very confident. Although Longao had ascended first and he had followed behind, with his speed, he would at most meet Longao at the 15th step. However, even when Long Potion easily reached the 29th step, he still had not met Longao. This time, Long Potion was stunned. He didn't know what was going on. Could it be that Brother Long has successfully reached the 30th step? Although he didn't believe it, Long Potion had to admit that Longao's talent and potential far exceeded his. Even he could reach the 9th step, let alone Brother Long. He didn't care about Longao. At this moment, Long Potion was finally about to reach the 30th step. The 30th step. Long Potion's heart had been aching for so many years. Because no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't reach the 30th step. This time, he had to succeed. 4 hours later, Longao relied on his powerful soul attack and perseverance to finally reach the 60th step of the celestial stairway. If the 9 superclans were to know about this, they would probably be so shocked that they would be speechless. Longao seemed to have reached his limit. His soul had been attacked countless times, but what surprised Longao was that not only was his soul not damaged, but it was also becoming stronger. Persevere, I must persevere. No matter what happens, I must persevere. Longao's character was like this. The more difficult it was, the more he would persevere. He never gave up easily because he always believed that perseverance would always be rewarded. But if you didn't persevere, you wouldn't even have the slightest bit of hope. Opportunities were always given to those who were prepared and could persevere. Breaking out of the cocoon and being reborn. Longao was struck down by the surrounding souls, and his entire body trembled. His eyes were unfocused, and his face was pale. His soul was riddled with holes. Even if he did not die, he would most likely be crippled. But in Longao's mind, he kept telling himself, persevere, persevere, you must persevere. You still have family and loved ones. If you can't persevere, what will happen to them? You still have to reach the peak of martial arts and become a peerless expert. If you die like this, how will you do it? A miracle happened. Just as Longao's soul was about to disappear, a terrifying soul power burst out. It was the so-called breaking out of the cocoon. In the end, Longao's perseverance paid off. If Longao didn't persevere, not to mention breaking out of the cocoon, his soul would have disappeared and his body would have been devoured by heaven and earth. Longao did not hesitate in the slightest because the soul attacks around him were still continuing. It was not easy for his soul to break out of its cocoon and be reborn. It was twice as strong as before. How could Longao not seize this opportunity? What did it mean to double one's soul? It could be said that Longao was full of confidence. If he were to encounter someone like Yaroji, even if Yaroji's soul was stronger than an ordinary warrior's and she even knew how to use soul attacks, his current soul power would be enough to kill her in seconds. That's right, it would be an instant kill. Longao was full of confidence that he could instantly kill Yaroji. This was the power of soul attacks. Soul attack martial techniques could increase in power as the soul continued to grow stronger. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't excited. After all, the rebirth from the cocoon had doubled the strength of his soul. If he could persevere and climb a few more steps of the celestial stairway, wouldn't his soul become even stronger? Master, according to your current soul, It's enough to deal with soul attacks of the 60th layer. Quickly come in, I have something to say to you. Longao was very curious. He did not know why Long Fu had called him at this time, but Longao trusted Long Fu. His soul entered the dragon seal space. Within the dragon seal space. Long Fu, you're looking for me? Longao was somewhat impatient. After all, he was currently climbing the 99 steps. If he was slightly negligent, who knew what would happen? Master, your soul has doubled, so I'm officially teaching you soul fusion. Soul fusion? Longao was very curious. He did not know what the soul fusion that Long Fu was talking about was. Soul fusion? Master, soul martial techniques are divided into two types, soul attack and soul fusion. Master, your soul attack has been cultivated to the small success stage. Now, you're only lacking soul fusion. Then, Long Fu taught the soul fusion cultivation method to Longao. After sensing it slightly, Longao already knew what soul fusion meant. It was very simple. To deal with soul attacks, one's soul would directly cover the opponent's soul and refine it, continuously strengthening one's own soul. His heart rejoiced. Longao left the dragon seal space and started to resist the soul attacks around him without hesitation. Moreover, he continued to head towards the 61st sky stairway. Breaking out of the cocoon to be reborn, his soul had been strengthened. Longao could deal with the soul attacks around him easily. Just like this, Longao finally reached the deepest part and stepped onto the 61st step without hesitation. Just as he stepped onto it, Longao's entire body was suppressed, which gave him a big fright. Before Longao could react, he was already suppressed to the point that he could not move at all. What a terrifying aura suppression. In just an instant, Longao already knew what this aura suppression was. It was the aura of heaven and earth. If it was the Longao of the past, he would not know what the aura of heaven and earth was. However, the situation now was different. Longao already knew that the 99 steps of the heavenly stairs, from the first step to the 29th step, it was the suppression of gravity. From the 30th to the 60th step, it was the aura of heaven and earth. Chapter 267. The Chi Power of Heaven and Earth. Longao shook his head helplessly, but he was not worried at all. At this time, a Chi Power of Heaven and Earth suddenly rose from Longao's body and collided with the Chi Power of Heaven and Earth from the stairway. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for Longao to condense the Chi Power of Heaven and Earth with his strength. Perhaps his talent was too strong. Longao did what others could not do. It was not impossible to say that no one could do it in the future, but at least no one had done it before. The Chi Power of Heaven and Earth, as the name implied, was the Chi Power produced by heaven and earth. It was not something that warriors could compete with. It was impossible for ordinary warriors to resist the suppression of the Chi Power of heaven and earth. Once they climbed the 60th stairway, there were only two results. The first was to continue resisting and eventually be crushed by the Chi Power of heaven and earth. The second was to choose to give up and leave the stairway. However, Longao's situation was completely different from others. He had condensed the Chi Power of heaven and earth in the realm of middle-level earthly emperor. Therefore, the stairway that was impossible in the eyes of others was not impossible for Longao. The Chi Power of heaven and earth that Longao possessed could not be compared with the Chi Power of heaven and earth here, but Longao knew how to dissipate the force. After successfully crossing the 61st stairway, Longao finally set foot on the 89th stairway. That was to say, there were only 10 stairways left to reach the human realm beyond. The 99th stairway. The 99th heaven beyond. The Chi Power of heaven and earth released by Longao collided with the Chi Power of heaven and earth around him. Longao's face was full of determination. Since he had come here, if he did not go up, he would be sorry for himself. Since he had already reached the 89th step of the heaven stairway, Longao knew that the remaining 10 steps of the heaven stairway would definitely not be simple. Therefore, he had to be extremely careful. Without any further hesitation, Longao finally took a step forward and stepped onto the 90th step of the heaven stairway. After persisting step by step, Longao had successfully broken through the peak of the earthly emperor realm. He was only one step away from the Tao ancestor realm. It seemed a simple step, but in fact, it was difficult. Longao had just set foot on the 90th stairway when an unparalleled chi power of heaven and earth directly suppressed him. He was startled. Longao discovered that the aura of heaven and earth possessed by the 89th and 90th steps could not be compared at all. The difference was 2 times. Not daring to be careless, Longao immediately circulated all the power in his body and released a terrifying aura of heaven and earth to resist. However, the heaven and earth aura that Longao released was not on the same level as the heaven and earth aura that was suppressed by the 90th step sky stairway. Crack! Longao almost knelt down, but he managed to endure it in the end. Not choosing to give up, Longao continued to persevere. The chi of heaven and earth around his body protected his body tightly. He did not dare to be careless in the slightest. Longao knew clearly in his heart that the moment he let down his guard, he would be crushed to death by the chi of heaven and earth. Persist. He still persisted. No matter what happened, he had to persevere. Gritting his teeth, Longao clenched his fists tightly. But things had already come to this point. Did he really have to choose to give up? Longao was very unwilling. It was not easy for him to set foot on the 90th step sky stairway. If he chose to give up, how could he be reconciled? No matter what happened, he had to climb the 99th step sky stairway. Because of this, Longao gritted his teeth and persevered. He kept telling himself in his heart that he could not give up. His power had undergone a qualitative change. Under the suppression of the powerful chi power of heaven and earth, Longao did not die. Instead, his cultivation had broken through from the peak of the earthly emperor to the primary Tao ancestor. He was overjoyed. Longao knew very well what it meant for his cultivation to break through to the peak of the Tao ancestor. The gap between the peak of the earthly emperor and the primary Tao ancestor was very big. Longao's chi power had doubled. In this way, it became relatively easy for Longao to resist the suppression of the chi power of heaven and earth around him. He was overjoyed. Longao now finally knew why the 99th step sky stairway was the cradle for warriors to improve their strength. He had just set foot on the 90th step sky stairway and had smoothly broken through to the Tao ancestor. What if he reached the 99th step sky stairway? What realm would his cultivation reach? However, Longao did not relax at all. After all, his cultivation had broken through smoothly this time thanks to his own chi power of heaven and earth and soul attack. Longao found it hard to imagine that if he had not cultivated soul attack and condensed the chi power of heaven and earth, it would have been a big problem for him to break through the chi power of heaven and earth and even set foot on the 40th step sky stairway. The chi power of heaven and earth of the 90th step sky stairway could no longer suppress Longao. This did not mean that Longao's chi power of heaven and earth was very strong. It meant that when the chi power of heaven and earth reached a certain level, it would begin to absorb the chi power of heaven and earth around it. Therefore, the chi power of heaven and earth of the 90th step sky stairway could no longer suppress Longao. Of course, Longao knew that very well. However, he did not relax in the slightest. That was because he was about to step onto the 91st heavenly stairs. No one knew what existed on the 91st heavenly stairs. However, Longao could almost be sure that there would be no chi power of heaven and earth on the 91st step sky stairway. What was on the 91st step sky stairway? With curiosity and expectation, Longao finally set foot on the 91st step sky stairway. However, what shocked Longao was that there was nothing on the 91st step sky stairway. There was only a kind of airflow, which was very comfortable to breathe in. Master, calm down and absorb the purple chi from the east. Purple chi from the east. Although he did not know what the purple chi from the east meant, Longao was very clear that Long Fu would definitely not lie to him. Therefore, without any hesitation, he immediately sat down cross-legged and began to absorb the purple chi from the east around him. No matter what this airflow was, Longao realized that as long as he absorbed it, not only would it calm his heart, it would also be of great help to his cultivation level. Purple chi from the east. It was a kind of wonder between heaven and earth that was rarely seen in 100 years. Unless one was able to set foot on the 91st step sky stairway, it was impossible to see the purple chi from the east, let alone absorb it. Longao quietly absorbed it. He had never been so calm before. The surrounding purple chi from the east continuously entered Longao's body and began to expel the impurities in his body. It could be considered as a transformation. After an unknown period of time, Longao opened his eyes. There was some disappointment on his face. He said to himself, if I could absorb it for 3 days, my cultivation would definitely be able to make a breakthrough. What a pity. Longao stood up. He was not a greedy person. Otherwise, he would not have been able to live until now. Although his cultivation had not broken through to the middle-level Tao ancestor, it was very helpful for him to make a breakthrough. Chapter 268. When Longao stepped on the 92nd stairway, he was completely stunned. Because the 92nd stairway and the 91st stairway both had purple chi from the east. The only difference was that the intensity of the purple chi from the east was different. Longao didn't waste any time. He immediately sat on the ground and began to absorb the purple chi from the east around him. In this way, Longao absorbed the purple chi from the east for a few hours every time he ascended. When he reached the 98th stairway and finished absorbing the purple chi from the east, he finally stopped. The peak of the Tao ancestor. Longao couldn't help but be surprised because after being nourished by the purple chi from the east, his cultivation finally broke through to the peak of the Tao ancestor from the primary level. Such a speed of improvement was simply unheard of. Longao knew very well that under normal circumstances, he might not be able to reach the peak of the Tao ancestor realm even in 1 or 2 years, let alone in a short period of a few days. The 99th stairway. Longao was looking forward to the last heaven stairway because according to Long Potian, above the 99 heaven stairway was the sky beyond heaven. As for what the sky beyond heaven was, no one knew because no one had been able to step onto the last heaven stairway. The 99th stairway, the last stairway. Longao looked at the last sky stairway in front of him and his heart was filled with excitement. That was because he knew that as long as he could step onto it, it meant that he would be the first person in history to step onto the 99th sky stairway. In the end, Longao still stepped out. As soon as his right foot stepped on the 99th stairway, his whole body trembled. Since things had come to this point, Longao didn't continue to hesitate. Whether he lived or died depended on this move. His left foot stepped on the 99th stairway. Longao found that the whole scene around him had changed. When he came to the sky and looked at the vast land under his feet, Longao was completely stunned. Yes, he was now in the sky. Looking at the vast world below, Longao's heart had long been shocked to the extreme. He finally understood the meaning of the world beyond the 99 heavenly stairs. The 99th stairway. On the 29th stairway. He had already failed 10 times, but in the end, he was still unable to gain a firm foothold on the 29th step of the celestial stairway. Long Potian wanted to curse. He knew very well that the reason he couldn't reach the 30th step wasn't because of his strength or talent, but because of his soul. This was because from the 30th level onwards, it was a soul attack. Long Potian was unable to resist at all. If he persisted, his soul would be injured, and he would die without a doubt. Although he really wanted to step onto the 30th step of the celestial stairway, it was nothing compared to his life. In front of the 99 steps of heaven. The 9 supremes of the 9 great clans were chatting. No matter what grudges the 9 great clans had, the 9 of them had already left the Jianghu. They only had one responsibility, and that was to protect the Crimson Province's forbidden land, the heavens beyond heaven. Look. Following Zhong Xian's gaze, the faces of the 7 paragons immediately warped in disbelief. In fact, they even began trembling uncontrollably. A heavenly rainbow that hasn't appeared in 1,000 years. Could it be? The 7 great supremes were well aware of what the huge rainbow in the sky represented. In other words, someone had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs and entered the outland. Who on earth was this person? Since the 9 great clans found the Outland, no one had been able to step onto the 80th step for more than 1,000 years. But now, finally, someone had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs. At this moment, the sky turned completely red, like a burning flame, burning with raging fire, completely illuminating the entire sky. A huge rainbow appeared. There were 99 colors in the rainbow. They were red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, black, gold, white. The entire rainbow spanned the entire sky from east to west. At a glance, such a vision of heaven and earth could not be described with words. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, the huge rainbow appeared. Clouds of fire and thunder appeared above Mount Chilian. Loud thunder and lightning began to rumble. The entire sky of the Crimson Province was dyed red. Everyone could see that the sky was suddenly burning, as if it was going to burn the entire earth. Crimson Sky World. Everyone who was participating in the Battle of the 9 States suddenly saw the strange scene in the sky. Everyone stopped and looked up into the distance. Outside the Crimson Sky World, the elders of the 9 great clans and the clan leaders all looked in the direction of the vision of heaven and earth. Others might not know, but how could the 9 great clans not know? The appearance of the 1,000-year-old rainbow meant that someone had really stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs. Who on earth could it be? The 9 great clans knew very well that the person who had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs was a disciple of one of the 9 great clans. Because the 9 great clans had completely sealed off Mount Chilian, who could bypass the 9 great masters and enter the Outland? Because of this, the 9 great clans did not dare to be careless. They immediately went to Mount Chilian to see who had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs. In less than an hour, everyone from the 9 great clans had gathered outside Mount Chilian. Great Ancestor, who on earth has stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs? The 9 great masters looked at each other and saw a trace of surprise in each other's eyes. The 9 great masters knew very well what it meant to step onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs. If this person came out alive, then there was no doubt that this person's future achievements would be limitless. The Crimson Province would also be able to give birth to a super expert. The 9 great masters looked at the Long clan. The other 8 great clans were not fools. When they saw the 9 great masters' eyes, they already knew that the person who had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs was from the Long clan. Even if the 8 great clans were unhappy and unwilling to admit it, the truth was the truth. What was done and could not be changed. Because of this, the 8 great clans repeatedly congratulated, which surprised the Long clan leader, Long Bu. Others might not know, but how could he not know that all the strongest geniuses of the Long clan had already entered the Crimson Sky World? How could they be here? Who on earth was it? Not to mention others, even Long Bu himself did not know who had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs. Could it really be a disciple of his clan? Long Bu could not believe himself, but he did not dare to not believe the 9 great masters. No matter what, the 9 great masters had no reason to lie about this matter. Moreover, among the 9 great masters, one of them was the great ancestor of his clan. Others could lie, but would the great ancestor lie? Just when Long Bu was pleasantly surprised and wanted to know who had stepped onto the top of the 99 heavenly stairs, someone shouted. Everyone looked at the young man who slowly walked out. Chapter 269. Long Potian. Everyone cried out in surprise. Seeing Long Potian come down the stairs, everyone knew who had reached the top of the stairs. Long Potian. Long Bu was stunned. Long Potian had already entered the Crimson Sky World to participate in the Battle of the 9 States. Why would he suddenly appear here? Not only Long Bu, but everyone else was also confused. After all, Long Potian was the number 1 on the Crimson State ranking. He would definitely participate in the Battle of the 9 States. Could it be that this person wasn't Long Potian? Are you Long Potian? Long Potian, who had just failed, also saw the phenomenon in the sky. He was shocked and already knew who had reached the top. Asking if he was Long Potian. Depressed, Long Potian said helplessly, Yes. Long Potian was no fool. Of course, he couldn't let the people here know about his brother Long. Once this matter was leaked, Longao would be in big trouble. Just the fact that Longao wasn't a disciple of the 9 great clans was enough to kill Longao. Potian, is it really you? Depressed, Long Potian still nodded and said, Father, don't you even recognize me? Is it really you? Good, good, very good. Saying good 3 times in a row showed how excited Long Bu was at this moment. No matter what, for more than 1,000 years, no one from the 9 great clans had ever reached the 99 steps, and the only one was his son. So, how could Long Bu not be happy? Looking at his excited father, Long Potian felt a little guilty. But for Longao's safety, he could only do this, and he had to do this. The other 8 great clans were envious of the Long clan. Potian, from now on, go into seclusion and cultivate. Try to break through to the Void Realm as soon as possible and compete for the Dragon ranking. Dragon ranking. Not just Long Bu, even the others knew what the Dragon ranking meant. As the most valuable ranking of the Long family, once Long Potian entered the Dragon ranking, not only him, but even the Long clan status would rise instantly. Since Long Potian had stepped onto the 99th step of the Celestial Stairway, the Long clan status in the 9 great clans had risen imperceptibly. After the 8 great clans congratulated him, they all left helplessly. In any case, they didn't want to provoke the Long clan. At most, they would continue to mind their own business from now on. Potian, follow me back to the clan. Long Bu couldn't wait any longer, but Long Potian shook his head. Father, I still have a friend who hasn't come out yet. I want to wait for him here. Friends. Hearing his son's words, Long Bu seemed to be very surprised. However, he was in a good mood and did not pursue the matter. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, no one would dare to bring outsiders into the sky beyond heaven, not even his own son. Fortunately, the 8 great clans were not here. Otherwise, it would be another round of trouble. Long Bu was no fool. Of course, he knew that his son had brought an outsider into the sky beyond heaven. All 9 supreme martial artists knew about it. Otherwise, his son alone would not have been able to do it. Long Bu was very happy that his son had done a great service. He nodded and said, Okay, I'll wait with you. Helplessly shrugging his shoulders, Long Potian did not say much. However, he was extremely excited in his heart because he had never thought that Longao would be able to reach the peak of the 99 steps in such a short period of time. The vision of heaven and earth had disappeared. Ever since the 9 great clans discovered the sky beyond heaven, no one had truly reached the top of the 99 steps in the past 1,000 years. It could be said that Longao could be called the number 1 person in the sky beyond heaven in 1,000 years. Long Potian knew even more clearly that with Longao's talent, not to mention the low-level Long clan, even in the Long family, he would probably be the strongest existence. Long Potian could completely imagine what would happen if the news of Longao reaching the top of the 99 steps in the sky beyond heaven was known to the Crimson Province and even the Long family. There were 2 outcomes. The first was to directly kill Longao and not let him grow. The second was to directly recruit him and kill him if he couldn't be recruited. Therefore, Long Potian had already decided that no matter what, the news of Longao reaching the top of the 99 steps in the sky beyond heaven could not be leaked, not even to his own biological father. The top of the 99 steps in the sky beyond heaven was also known as the sky beyond heaven. Longao stood above the clouds and looked down at the vast land. His state of mind also began to slowly change. Young man, first of all, congratulations on reaching the top of the 99 steps in the sky beyond heaven. I still don't know your name. Looking at the giant face that suddenly appeared in front of him, Longao was completely stunned. He exclaimed, Are you a human or a ghost? It turned out that in front of Longao, the clouds slowly gathered to form a giant face. He could clearly see the man's appearance, but it also seemed like he couldn't see clearly, giving off a hazy feeling. Of course I'm a human. You haven't answered my question. A human? Can a human appear like this? Longao was completely dumbfounded. However, his reason still suppressed his panic. He took a deep breath and said, I'm Scarlet Fire Town's Long family's disciple, Longao. May I know who you are? Long family's descendant. Seemingly a little surprised, but the giant face quickly recovered and said, My name is Yigudu. I want to be friends with you. I don't know if you are willing. If he wasn't willing, then he would be a fool. Longao didn't even need to sense to know that the giant face in front of him was a super expert. It was also the strongest martial artist he had ever seen, even stronger than the Fire Chalene. To be friends with such a martial artist, as long as there wasn't water in your brain, he believed that no one would refuse. Of course I'm willing. Ha ha ha, good. From today onwards, we are friends. This time I have something to do, so I can't appear. When you come in the future, I will properly entertain you. Where can I find you? Longao, your current strength is too weak. Remember this, if you want to fly higher, you have to increase your strength as soon as possible. I look forward to the day you grow. Unwilling to say? Since the other party didn't want to say, Longao didn't ask anymore. Longao, you have stepped on a total of 99 celestial stairs, distributed all over the continent. Since ancient times, although you are not the first person to step on the peak, you are the first person to trigger such a vision of heaven and earth. 99 kinds of rainbows appeared at the same time. Interesting, very interesting. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Remember, if you want to see further, you have to fly higher. As the voice slowly faded, the giant face slowly disappeared with the clouds. Longao quietly looked at the place, thinking about what the giant face had just said. 99 heavens beyond, and the giant face didn't come. Then how did Yigudu do it? Chapter 270. His out. Seeing Longao's figure, Long Potion's face lit up. Without waiting for Longao to speak, he winked and said, Brother Long, how was it? Longao was very surprised, but he was very smart and had already understood Long Potion's meaning. He shook his head helplessly and said with a wry smile, 15th Celestial Stairway. Where are you from? Who are you? Brother Long, I forgot to introduce you. This is my father, Long Bu, the head of the Long family. I'm Longao, a disciple of the Long family of Red Fire Town. The Long family of Red Fire Town of Tianju? In Long Bu's impression, the Long family of Red Fire Town seemed to be a 9th-level family. It was not easy to cultivate such a talented disciple. If Long Bu knew that the person who really stepped onto the 99th Celestial Stairway was not his son, but the young man in front of him, Long Bu wondered if he would be angered to death. Although Longao could step onto the 15th Celestial Stairway, the family behind him was already there. Long Bu more or less looked down on Longao, but for the sake of his son, he said with a smile, Since you and Potian are friends, and we belong to a Long family, if you want, why don't you come to my Long family as a guest? How could Longao not see the contempt in Long Bu's heart? Back then, Longao had been looked down upon and mocked for 10 whole years, but no matter what, Long Bu was still Long Potion's father. As the saying goes, even if you don't give face to the monk, you still have to give face to the Buddha. Longao only knew one thing, and that was that Long Potian was his friend. Without Long Potian, he would not have been able to enter sky beyond sky, let alone step onto the top of the 99th Celestial Stairway. Brother Long, I have something to ask you. There was no way to refuse, so Longao could only choose to agree and said, Sorry to bother you. In this way, Longao and Long Potian did not return to the Crimson Sky World, but went to the Long family of Crimson State, one of the 9 great families. If Longao and Long Potian had dared to leave the Crimson Sky World without permission, they would have been punished. But now, the 8 families did not even mention it. That was to say, the news of the 2 leaving the Crimson Sky World would not spread to the other 8 states. The Long family was one of the 9 great families of the Crimson Province. The 9 great clans were the Wang clan, the Hao clan, the Duanmu clan, the Long clan, the Miao clan, the Wei clan, the Ju clan, the Fang clan, and the Yang clan. Among the 9 great clans, the Long clan's strength was not considered very strong. It could only be considered as below average. Even so, no one dared to provoke the Long family. Other than the fact that they had a Long family behind them, The most important thing was that the Long family had a super genius, Long Potian. Just as Long Potian said, once his cultivation broke through the nothingness realm and became a venerable, he would be able to enter the dragon ranking. If he was lucky enough to enter the dragon ranking, then not only Long Potian, but even the Long family's status would rise. Especially this time, when the 8 great families saw Long Potian step onto the top of the 99th celestial stairway. The Long family's status instantly rose because the 8 great families knew very well that Long Potian, who was originally very talented, would have an unlimited increase in his cultivation speed after stepping onto the top of the celestial stairway. No one could predict when Long Potian would soar into the sky. Therefore, the 8 great families had decided that no matter what happened, they would not easily provoke the Long family. The Long family was located in the Crimson Dragon City. The Crimson Dragon City was one of the 9 great cities of Crimson State. Because of the Long family's backing, the Crimson Dragon City was very prosperous. Just the floating population alone had reached tens of millions. One could imagine how prosperous the Crimson Dragon City was. In a very luxurious courtyard of the Long family. Brother Long, let me ask you, have you already stepped onto the top of the 99th celestial stairway? Longao did not hide anything from Long Potian. He nodded and said, yes, my luck is not bad. I was lucky enough to step onto the top of the celestial stairway. Lucky? He shrugged helplessly. If everyone was lucky enough to step onto the top of the celestial stairway, then the number of geniuses in this world would be as many as dogs. It would be a lie to say that he was not envious, but Long Potian was really happy for Longao. Brother Long, no matter what happens, you must remember one thing. You must not tell anyone that you have stepped onto the top of the 99th celestial stairway, not even your family. Do you understand? Brother Potian, what's wrong with you? Longao was very curious. He did not know what Long Potian meant. Why did he not tell anyone that he had stepped onto the top of the celestial stairway, not even his family? Was he afraid that someone would kill him? Brother Long, your guess is very correct. Once the news of you stepping onto the top of the celestial stairway is leaked, you will be subjected to endless killing. At that time, you will be in a lot of trouble. Just as expected. Nodding his head, Longao obviously knew that Long Potian was doing this for his own good. He said, don't worry, only you and I will know about this. Brother Potian, now that everyone thinks that you have stepped onto the top of the 99th celestial stairway, are you not afraid of trouble? Longao never thought that Long Potian would admit it himself. After all, he was very clear that once he admitted it, all the trouble would be transferred to him, and he would be completely clean. Brother Long, don't worry about this. I will be fine. After all, I have the support of my family. You don't have to worry about this. It was easy to say, but in reality, it was very troublesome. Longao did not say much. This was a true friend, a true friend. Brother Long, you have already stepped onto the top of the celestial stairway. Without a doubt, as long as you continue to grow, you will definitely become an overlord in the future. At that time, don't forget about me. Longao only smiled. Although he knew that Long Potian was joking, Longao told himself in his heart that in the future, not only his family, but also Long Potion's family, he had to help. Everything was in silence. Brother Long, since you are already here, then stay for a few more days. I will arrange it later. When you go back this time, you can take the 2 venerables with you. Brother Potian, will this bring you trouble? In the end, Long Potian was still not the head of the Long family, so he could not make decisions in the Long family. No matter what, the 2 venerables were not a small matter. If this matter brought trouble to Long Potian, then he would be letting down his friend. How could Long Potian not know what Longao was thinking? He smiled and said, Brother Long, don't worry, I can still handle this small matter. Don't worry, stay here for a few days. This is my place, no one will disturb you. Without giving Longao a chance to speak, Long Potian got up and left. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, Longao suddenly smiled. Although he did not have many friends, all of them were sincere friends. This was enough. Chapter 271. Crimson Dragon City. The overlord of Crimson Dragon City was, without a doubt, the Dragon Clan. Under the Dragon Clan, there were 4 major clans. The market was packed with people, and there were shouts everywhere. There were people doing all kinds of things. "Young masterin, please let me go." A girl who looked to be only 15 or 16 was begging. There were more than a dozen big men standing in front of the girl. One of them was a young man with greasy hair and a powdered face, looking at the girl with a lustful expression. "Not bad, not bad. If I'm not mistaken, you're still a virgin." Hearing this, the girl was embarrassed and angry, but she did not dare to say anything. After all, young Master An was famous for being a hedonistic disciple in Crimson Dragon City. He was used to doing bad things. And Hao, the young master of the An clan, was used to bullying others. However, due to the An clan's status in Crimson Dragon City, no one dared to mess with An Hao. The An clan was one of the 4 major clans in Crimson Dragon City. An Hao chuckled and said lewdly, "Don't be afraid, little girl. I'm going to love you. If you serve me well, hey." Seeing that young Master An was going to do something violent again, no one could bear to watch. A good girl was going to be defiled by this beast. The heavens were truly blind. The girl was so scared that her face turned pale, and her body trembled. Her family was not by her side, and no one dared to stand up for her. Was she really going to be defiled by this beast? "Young Master An, please let me go. I'll do anything." "Haha, girl, I don't need you to do anything. You just have to be a good girl." "No, young Master An, no way." Hearing that, An Hao's face turned gloomy. He said angrily, "Don't be so shameless. Let me tell you, if you piss me off, I'll kill your whole family." The girl was already scared out of her wits. Seeing An Hao walking towards her, the girl stepped back. At that moment, the girl's face was filled with helplessness, unwillingness, and humiliation. She would rather die than be defiled by this beast. "Do you want to die?" As if he could read her mind, An Hao sneered and said, "I almost forgot to tell you, I love playing with corpses the most. Thinking about it, I haven't forgotten for a long time. Since you are willing to die, then fulfill my wish." Hearing this, the little girl almost fainted from fright. She staggered and fell to the ground. She looked at young Master An in front of her in horror. "Are you going to come with me obediently, or are you going to let my subordinates strip you naked right now, and then I'll pamper you here?" An Hao's words were arrogant to the extreme. However, everyone knew that An Hao had the qualifications to be arrogant. After all, as a disciple of the An family, other than the Long family or the other 3 families, no one dared to provoke him. Countless sounds of pity came from all around, but in order to protect themselves, no one dared to stand up for the injustice. The little girl's face was as pale as paper. She didn't know what to choose because no matter what she chose, there was only one outcome, and that was to be defiled by this bastard. Even if she died, she couldn't die. Even if she lived, she would be humiliated. At this moment, the little girl was simply living a life worse than death. Men, take action. Pull out everything from this thing that doesn't know what's good for you. Let me tell you, after I'm done with you, my subordinates will come one by one. I want to see if you will still be so tough at that time. As the young master of the An family, An Hao could be said to be fearless. As long as he didn't provoke the Long family, everything would be fine. Even if he provoked the other 3 great families, it wouldn't be a big deal. "Young Master An, I'm willing to go with you." An extremely soft voice. The little girl was only 15 or 16 years old. She had never seen such a situation before. However, the little girl only knew one thing, and that was that if she didn't agree, she would probably be defiled by countless beasts. Seeing the little girl choose to submit, the surrounding people didn't look down on the little girl. Instead, they fiercely cursed An Hao in their hearts. "Bastard, shameless, damn it." They even cursed An Hao's 18 generations of ancestors, but what was the use? No one stood up. The little girl's fate was still the same. This was reality. This was the rule of survival. At the end of the day, An Hao had a good backer. If someone bullied you, then you deserved it. It was because of this that Hao didn't care about the people around him. He hooked his finger with his right hand and said with a smile, "Come over here and lick my shoes clean." Everyone was furious. Some of the young men couldn't even hold back. If it weren't for the people beside them holding them back, they would have rushed out. Hao was obviously doing this on purpose. He wanted to tell everyone that he, young master could do whatever he wanted in Crimson Dragon City. What could they do to him? It was a show of strength. Hao sat on the back of one of his subordinates and crossed his legs. He sneered and said, "Hurry up. If you piss me off, I'll execute you on the spot. Bastard, you really are a bastard. Doing such a thing in broad daylight." Before the old man could finish his words, a few burly men had already rushed up and attacked him from both sides. Fists and kicks rained down on the old man's body. He was dead. Looking at the old man who was lying on the ground, unable to get up, it was obvious that he had been beaten to death. Only then did the burly men stop. It seemed that they hadn't beaten him enough. They even kicked him twice before leaving unwillingly. Murder. Seeing someone exclaim, Hao looked at them with disdain and said with contempt, "What's the fuss? It's just killing a person. It's like killing a pig." Hearing those words, the surrounding people became even more furious. If looks could kill, Hao would have been killed countless times already. "Ha ha ha, all of you are trash. Aren't you angry? Come on, hit me, kill me. A bunch of fools. If you don't have what it takes, then get lost. Just looking at you annoys me. Girl, I'll say this one last time. Hurry up, or I'll start." The little girl was already scared out of her wits. If the other party could kill someone so easily, then there was no need to talk about dealing with her. If she was really done here, then she would be better off dead. There was no other way. The little girl crawled slowly towards Hao. Her face was pale with tears, but she was powerless. She could only choose to accept it because she knew that she couldn't implicate her family. Just when the little girl was about to crawl to Hao's feet, with a whoosh, an unknown object shot out quickly and hit Hao's foot. A scream instantly sounded. "Oh my God, my foot." Hao's little finger had been smashed off and fell to the ground with blood. It was a ghastly sight. P.S. 10 chapters have been completed. I will continue with 10 chapters tomorrow. Everyone, please support me, give me tips, vote, and recommend votes. Little 9 thanks. Chapter 272. Hao's screams were so pitiful that the men around him did not know what to do. Mother **K, who is it? Come out if you dare. **CKU, kill everyone here. I don't believe that this son of a **TCH won't come out. Kill all the people around him." Hearing Hao's words, everyone around him was shocked. They all turned around and prepared to leave. As the saying went, if it was none of their business, they would stay out of it. No one wanted to be implicated. Mother **K, it's just a corn kernel. Looking at the corn kernel on the ground, Hao could not believe it. This was the thing that had broken his toe. Could it be a martial artist? And a powerful one at that. Although Hao was a playboy, he was no fool. Someone who could break his toe with the help of a corn kernel without making a sound knew how powerful the other party was. If it had been an ordinary person, they would have run away long ago, but Hao did not. That was because he had the An clan as his backing. Unless it was someone from the Long clan, there was no one he dared to mess with. Just as the men were about to slaughter everyone around, a young man walked out. He had white hair and was dressed in black. His face was cold, which was particularly eye-catching. There was no need to ask. Hao already knew that the person who broke his toe was the young man in front of him. "Who are you? It's none of your business. Who the **CK are you? It's none of your business who the **CK I am." Hao had always thought that he was arrogant enough, but he did not expect that there would be someone even more arrogant than him. Looking at the fearless young man with a cold face, Hao wanted to back off. Crimson Dragon City is really sad. Everyone has the right to kill a bastard like you. You're not from Crimson Dragon City? If I were from Crimson Dragon City, do you think you'd be alive now? Ha 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 ha, mother asterisk. I was almost scared to death by you. So you were just pretending, mother asterisk. And Hao suddenly shouted excitedly. As long as the other party was not from Crimson Dragon City, it meant that he was not from the Long clan. Since he was not from the Long clan, he could continue to do whatever he wanted. Kill this man. The dozens of burly men were all acquired warriors, and the most powerful among them had already reached the 9th heaven of internal strength. However, these men hadn't even started to move when Longao had already started to move. According to Longao's current strength, dealing with a few Hu Tian warriors was a simple matter. Like a gust of wind, before Hao could figure out what had happened, the dozen or so men all fell to the ground, screaming in pain. Their legs were all broken. Helping the tyrant, I'll cripple your legs. So powerful. Seeing the black-clothed, white-haired young man's display of might, everyone in the surroundings began to clap. Every one of them was very excited, and some were even shouting to kill Hao. In any case, they didn't have to do it themselves, and they could get rid of a scourge, so why not? You're from the Yin family? Although Hao didn't know why the other party asked that, he said confidently, yes, white-haired monster. I'll tell you clearly that in Crimson Dragon City, the Yin family is the master. If you dare to touch a hair of mine, you'll have to bear the consequences. Looking at Hao's annoying face, Longao sneered and said, don't mention a hair, I'll break your toes. I'd like to see how you'll make me bear the consequences. You. Looking at the broken fingers on the ground, Hao seemed to have just remembered that he was injured, and he immediately screamed. He was in so much pain that his face was covered in sweat, and his face was pale. If it wasn't for the fact that Hao was also a warrior, he would have died long ago. He gritted his teeth, and his teeth itched with hatred. No one in Crimson Dragon City had ever dared to do something like this. It was like trying to pull a tooth out of a tiger's mouth. However, Hao did not act rashly, because he knew that he was no match for the other party. As such, he said, white-haired monster, stand still if you dare. I'll get someone here, and I hope you won't kneel and beg for mercy. Get out of the way, get out of the way. At this time, 20 to 30 burly men in black rushed over angrily. Seeing Hao's broken fingers and their own people screaming on the ground, all the men in black were shocked. Someone actually dared to attack the Yin family in Crimson Dragon City? One must know that other than the Long family, the 4 major families were the most powerful in Crimson Dragon City, and the Yin family was one of them. Who the hell are you? How dare you hurt our young master? With a wave of his hand, a 2-meter-tall man with an extremely rough appearance came in front of Hao and said, Young master Hao, what happened? Seeing the man, Hao's face lit up, and he immediately said, Instructor Li, this bastard is meddling in other people's business. He hurt my broken fingers and my men. You must avenge the family. Li Liantian, the outer sect instructor of the Yin family, was in charge of everything that was solved by force. Moreover, Li Liantian was a Xiantian martial artist, and his cultivation had reached the one-line sky realm. Although Li Liantian looked down on Hao, as a member of the Yin family, he knew what his duty was. He knew what he should do and what he should not do. Hao's fingers were broken, and if he did not do anything, he would not be able to answer to the family. Who are you? Aren't you a bit too arrogant? No matter what, this is Crimson Dragon City. Shaking his head in disdain, Longao said contemptuously, Scum and beast, everyone has the right to kill him. Today, this person must die. No matter who comes, this result cannot be changed. If Hao was only forcing a girl into prostitution, Longao would not have meddled in other people's business. As his strength continued to grow, Longao knew one thing: an individual's energy was always limited. You could help once, but could you help for a lifetime? However, Hao was too infuriating. Not only did he force a girl into prostitution, but he also provoked everyone. He was the young master of the Yin family, and he did all kinds of evil. Moreover, this person was ruthless and wanted to slaughter everyone. It was because of this that Longao was ready to take action. Again, this kind of scum and beast, everyone had the right to kill. Ha ha ha, you are too arrogant. Do you know who we are? Li Liantian looked up to the sky and laughed. His laughter was full of confidence. The An family was one of the 4 great families of Crimson Dragon City. Apart from the Long family, who would dare to provoke them? Who you are has nothing to do with me. I only know one thing. The An family of Crimson Dragon City not only raised a scum and beast, but also raised a group of lackeys. Lackeys who help the Avilders. Li Liantian's face instantly darkened after being humiliated in public, even by the An clan. He said coldly and angrily, "Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being impolite." Chapter 273. Longao didn't take the other party seriously, and his face was full of contempt and disdain. "Kill this man for me." Li Liantian waved his hand and stopped everyone because he could sense that the other party was a congenital martial artist. Of course, Li Liantian knew that such a young congenital martial artist was not simple, but things had come to this point, and he had no way to escape. Li Liantian's figure moved quickly. Before he arrived, his terrifying congenital aura had already pressed down fiercely. "I want to see how you die." Li Liantian personally attacked, and An Hao was full of confidence. After all, Li Liantian was a one-line sky martial artist, and his strength was there. In fact, Li Liantian also had strong confidence in himself. In any case, the other party was too young. Even if he was a congenital martial artist, it was very good that he could reach the 100 dispersed sky. He couldn't reach the so-called one-line sky like himself. But in the next second, something happened that made Li Liantian feel like he had seen a ghost. The aura he released was directly suppressed by the other party's aura. Before Li Liantian could react, he was directly pressed to his knees. Crack, crack, his knees were broken, and the pain came in an instant. Li Liantian was stunned, but he still gritted his teeth and endured it without saying a word. He nodded with appreciation. This person's perseverance was not bad, but unfortunately, he followed the wrong master. "Are you an evolutionary martial artist?" "An evolutionary martial artist?" Longao smiled and didn't answer. If Li Liantian knew that the person in front of him was not a congenital martial artist, but an evolutionary martial artist at the peak of the Dao ancestor realm, what would Li Liantian do? "What are you doing? White-haired freak, I'm warning you, I'm the young master of the An family. If you kill me, the An family will not let you go." He didn't know if An Hao's brain was flooded with water. If Longao was afraid of the An family, he wouldn't have attacked from the beginning. But An Hao didn't want to be here, and was doomed to a tragedy. "I almost forgot that you are the young master of the An family. If I kill you, there will be a lot of trouble." Hearing the other party's words, An Hao breathed a long sigh of relief. In any case, he had to save his life first. As for this person, he must avenge himself. An Hao had thought that the other party wouldn't deal with him anymore. Longao's eyes turned cold. He directly kicked An Hao's crotch. An Hao screamed. Before he could figure out what had happened, he fainted. From now on, the girls don't have to worry about being humiliated by you anymore. In the end, Longao chose not to kill An Hao. No matter what, this place was not Scarlet Fire Town, not Star Cloud City, and definitely not Tianju. This was still Crimson Dragon City, Long Potion's territory. As one of the 4 great clans, it would be difficult for Long Potion to make things difficult for him if he were to make things difficult for them. However, Longao was very unhappy about letting An Hao go just like that. Therefore, after much consideration, Longao decided to directly cripple An Hao's little brother so that he would not be able to abuse women in the future. Longao left, but the people in the surroundings did not leave. Each and every one of them looked at An Hao, who had fainted on the ground with blood flowing out from his crotch. Not only did no one feel pity for him, instead, they felt refreshed in their hearts. It was just as the saying goes, good will be rewarded, and evil will be repaid. It was not that there was no retribution, it was just not time yet. And Hao could be considered unlucky. He could have met anyone, but he just had to meet a killing god who feared nothing. An clan, one of the 4 great clans of Crimson Dragon City. In Crimson Dragon City, other than the Long clan, the An clan did not even care about the other 3 great clans. in an elegant bedroom of the An family. An Zun, the head of the An clan, looked at his son who was lying on the bed with a gloomy face. His fists were clenched tightly. The anger in his heart was like a volcano that could erupt at any time. Master. How is Hao? Master, the young master was kicked in the door of life. It seems that this person did it on purpose. Therefore, the young master's little brother is completely crippled. Not to mention carrying on the family line, he can't even have sex in the future. Pa, and Zun slammed his palm on the table beside him, and the entire table instantly turned into dust. What the hell happened? Li Liantian, who had just been treated, was supported by someone as he walked in. He did not bow, but respectfully said, "Family head, this person is a young man. He is around 18 or 19 years old, and his white hair is very conspicuous. This person's cultivation has already reached the evolution realm." There was no need for Li Liantian to say more. And Zun had already guessed that this person's strength was not simple. After all, to be able to defeat Li Liantian, it already showed how strong this person was. "Did you not report your clan?" "Master, we did. This person did not care about the clan. Moreover, this person does not seem to be from Crimson Dragon City." And Zun's face became even more gloomy. Since Li Liantian had already reported his clan, even if the other party did not care about the monk, they would still have to respect the Buddha. Could it be that this person did not care about Crimson Dragon City at all? "Go, investigate this person's background." "Yes, master." And Zun was not a fool. Of course, he knew that a person who did not care about the clan's background was definitely not simple. Since this person was not from Crimson Dragon City, then it was very likely that he was a disciple of one of the other 9 major cities. If they provoked someone they should not provoke, then they would be in big trouble. In the end, An Zun suppressed his impulse with reason, even if the anger in his heart had reached an extreme. 4 hours later. An clan's main hall. "How is the investigation going?" "Master, according to our investigation, this person is called Longao. He comes from the Long clan of Crimson Fire town of Star Cloud Kingdom in Tianju. It is said that he is a friend of Long Potian and is here as a guest." 9th level Long clan? An Zun of course knew about the classification of Long clan. 1st level Long clan dominated the continent, 2nd level Long clan and 3rd level Long clan supported them. 4th level Long clan was still okay, but Long clans below 5th level were nothing, let alone a small 9th level Long clan. However, An Zun did not act rashly. No matter what, Longao was still Long Potion's friend. He knew very well what Long Potian represented. If he provoked the Long clan because of this, then it would be very troublesome. Was he going to let this person go just like that? His own son was crippled by this person, and even had no descendants. This kind of hatred was like the hatred of killing one's father. How could An Zun just let it go like that? His face turned cold, and he said to himself, "I don't believe that the Long clan will be estranged from the An clan because of a disciple of a 9th level Long clan. I will go find Long Bu now and see what the Long clan will do." The news of An Hao being crippled spread across the entire Crimson Dragon City in an instant. Anyone who heard the news was more surprised than shocked. At least the scourge of Crimson Dragon City was removed. In the future, the girls would not have to be afraid of being defiled by this bastard. Chapter 274. In a secluded pavilion in the backyard of the Long family. "Brother An, what business do you have with me today?" Long Bu obviously didn't know what had happened between Longao and An Hao. After all, Long Bu was already overjoyed that Long Potian had reached the top of the stairway to heaven. He didn't have the time to care about anything else. Since things had already progressed to this point, An Hao didn't hesitate and told him everything that had happened. Long Bu's face didn't look too good after listening to An Hao. Long Bu knew clearly what An Hao was like, but in order to win over the An family, the Long family had turned a blind eye and never interfered. Long Bu cursed Longao in his heart. He had only just arrived in Crimson Dragon City, but he had already caused so much trouble for himself. Long Bu knew clearly what An Zun was thinking, but because of his family's strength and Potion's face, An Zun didn't dare to act rashly. On one side was the An family, and on the other side was Longao. One was a good helper for the Long family, one of the 4 great families of Crimson Dragon City. The other was just a rank 9 disciple of the Long family. Brother An, the Long family won't interfere in this matter. An Zun's eyes lit up. As an old fox, how could he not understand the hidden meaning in Long Biyu's words? He hurriedly said, "Thank you, Brother Long. I will definitely reward you heavily later." Long Biyu waved his hand and refused, "No need. Long Ao is Potion's friend. If I were to act against Long Ao, I wouldn't be able to explain it to Potion. So, you can do as you see fit. Brother Long, what if Potion pursues this matter?" Long Potion was the undisputed super genius of the Long family. He was the most likely person to enter the dragon rankings in the past 100 years. One could imagine his status in the Long family. Because of this, An Zun didn't dare act rashly. If Long Potion came looking for trouble, what would happen to his family? There was no doubt that Long Biyu and the Long family would definitely choose Long Potion over the An family and him if they had to choose. How could Long Biyu not know about An Zun's worries? He nodded and said, "I'll transfer Potion away in a bit. I'll probably return tomorrow morning. I'll give you 1 day and 1 night. I think you should be able to deal with Long Ao. No problem." He was just a mere evolutionary level martial artist. With his family's strength, wanting to kill Long Ao was simply a matter of minutes. As for Potion, you can rest assured that he won't cause any trouble for your An clan. Thank you, Brother Long. Now that things had come to this point, if he continued to hesitate, then he would be a father in vain. As Long Biyu watched An Zun leave, he muttered to himself, "An insignificant rank 9 Long clan wants to climb the heavens. How reckless." Then, Long Biyu found Long Potion and told him some things. He couldn't even tell Long Ao before Long Potion left Crimson Dragon City. According to the time, he would be back tomorrow morning at the earliest. However, Long Potion wasn't worried at all. After all, Long Ao was now in the Long family. How could anything happen to Long Ao? Also, with Long Ao's current strength, unless he met a Nihility martial artist. Long Ao didn't know anything about Long Biyu and An Zun's shamelessness. After beating up An Zun, Long Ao didn't immediately return to the Long family. Instead, he wandered around the market. First, he went to take a look at the Dan Guild. Then, he ate some food. At dusk, Long Ao returned to the Long family. Arriving at Long Ao's residence, Long Ao didn't cultivate. Instead, he sat quietly in the pavilion and watched the sun set. He suddenly thought of his family in Crimson Fire Town in Tianju, as well as Aoshue from the Ghost King sect and Yu Yin whose whereabouts were unknown. It smells so good. At this time, Long Ao suddenly smelled a fragrance. It was very comfortable and gave him a relaxed feeling. With curiosity, Long Ao stood up and walked towards the direction of the fragrance. No one dared to enter Long Potion's residence. Even if it was a servant who delivered food, there would be a servant who would come at a fixed time. Long Potion was the super genius of the Long family. Everyone had to treat him as the center. It was precisely because of this that wherever Long Ao passed, no one came out to stop him. Unknowingly, Long Ao arrived in front of a rockery. The huge rockery was surrounded by water on all sides and was magnificent. Purple Chi from the east. Long Ao was very surprised. He didn't expect that the Long family also had purple Chi from the east. Long Ao wasn't unfamiliar with purple Chi from the east. Because when he was on the 99 steps, he relied on purple Chi from the east to quickly improve his cultivation. Long Ao didn't want to absorb purple Chi from the east. No matter what, this was Long Potion's home. If he absorbed the purple Chi from the east, wouldn't it be very unkind? Long Ao just wanted to see what was inside the rockery that could emit purple Chi from the east. Stepping into the rockery, the deeper he went, the stronger the purple Chi from the east became. Inside the rockery, it was a huge cave. Drip, 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 the sound of water droplets continuously rose and fell. In the middle of the cave, there was a huge pool. Long Ao discovered that the purple Chi from the east was emitted from the pool. It's so comfortable. In another day, I will be able to absorb all the purple chi from the east and break through to the transformation realm. At this time, a peerless beauty appeared in the pool. She wasn't wearing any clothes. Longao was dumbfounded. Because Longao never thought that there would be someone bathing here. What kind of scene was this? Ah, damn pervert, go die. When he turned around, the beauty had already put on her clothes. Before she arrived, a terrifying sword light shot out, scaring Longao so much that he turned and ran. According to the comparison of their strengths, Long Jing was not Longao's opponent at all. But no matter what, he had accidentally looked at her body. This kind of thing, no matter which woman encountered it, would be so excited. Damn pervert, stop right there. I'd be an idiot if I stopped. Longao didn't explain at all because he knew that even if he explained to the heavens, she wouldn't believe him. The best thing to do was to find Long Potian and see who this person was and whether there was a way to resolve this. Longao was very fast, but Long Jing wasn't slow either. The two of them shot out of the cave one after the other. No matter what Longao did, Long Jing called him damn pervert from behind, making Longao quite depressed. Adhering to the principle of a good man doesn't fight with a woman, Longao directly rushed back to Long Potion's residence. Would this woman chase after him? Just when Longao thought that this woman wouldn't dare to chase after him, the words damn pervert came again. Then, the cold sword light pierced through the air and fiercely shot out. Chapter 275. Bastard, I'm going to tear you to pieces today. Long Jing was a higher heaven uniting realm warrior and was very strong. Wherever her sword passed, there would be sword scars. Longao dodged left and right, avoiding a direct confrontation with Long Jing. Long Jing was furious, but she couldn't do anything except scold him. Long Jing's shout startled everyone. Not long after, Long Potion's residence was surrounded by disciples of the Long family. Under normal circumstances, the disciples of the Long family wouldn't dare to come here. But now, Long Potian wasn't here, and Long Jing was making a big commotion. Everyone was curious and came to see what was going on. There was no exception. Long Biu also came and saw Long Jing chasing Longao with her sword. He was very curious, but he still said angrily, Jing stop. Long Jing was very clear in her heart that with her strength, it was simply impossible to kill the other party. She stomped her foot and threw away the sword in her hand. Long Jing looked like a volcano erupting as she stared at Longao. Jing what happened? Father, tell me first, who is this bastard? Bastard! Hearing Long Jing calling Longao a stinking hooligan, everyone was extremely curious. They didn't know what Longao had done to make Long Jing so furious. She actually kept calling him a stinking hooligan. He's your brother's friend, Longao, a disciple of the Long family in Scarlet Fire Town. Brother? Longao was stunned. He didn't expect the girl in front of him to be Long Potion's sister. Didn't that mean she was Long Biu's daughter? Longao knew that he was in big trouble. Father, this bastard came in when I was absorbing the purple chi from the east. I'm going to kill him. Hearing these words, Long Biu's face instantly became gloomy. The surrounding crowd also sucked in a breath of cold air. If they were not afraid of Longao's strength, they believed that many people would have gone up to beat Longao up. Longao, is this true? I didn't do it on purpose. Ch, you didn't do it on purpose? You obviously did it on purpose, you stinking hooligan. Waving his hand, Long Biu didn't give Longao any chance to explain. His voice was extremely cold as he said, seeing that you and Potian are friends, I won't kill you. Dig out your eyes and you can leave. It had to be said that Long Biu was doing this on purpose. After all, Longao's status was there. Even if he didn't give face to the monk, he had to give face to the Buddha. However, Long Biu still did this. Gouging out his own eyes, this was Long Biu's attitude. Father. Longao, you can choose not to, but I can only kill you. Until now, Long Potian still hadn't appeared. Longao seemed to have realized that something was wrong. Could it be that Long Potian had been sent away? Longao believed that if Long Potian was in the Long family, he would definitely stand up and resolve this matter. He didn't believe that Long Potian would go against a friend who could go through life and death with him. I want to see Big Brother Potian. No, from now on, you have nothing to do with Potian anymore. Hearing this, Longao basically understood the situation. In the end, Long Bu still looked down on him and didn't want him to continue being friends with Long Potian. Dig out your eyes. Seeing that Longao was ignoring him and was about to turn and leave, Long Bu's face instantly turned cold. A powerful aura fiercely pressed down, covering the sky like a rolling river. Venerable. Longao's heart sank. However, if it was a competition of aura, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone. In terms of aura alone, Longao believed that even if a venerable came, he wouldn't be afraid. First, he condensed his own aura of heaven and earth, then stepped on the 99 steps. Under the pressure of the terrifying aura, the aura of heaven and earth solidified. There was no need to release the aura of heaven and earth. Longao activated the aura of heaven and earth in his body. Therefore, no matter how Long Bu exerted his aura, Longao acted as if he was fine. Long Bu and the others were dumbfounded. Looking at the disappearing figure, Long Bu's face turned extremely gloomy. To think that he, a venerable, couldn't make this person stay. If this matter spread out, where would his face go? Where would the Long family's face go? If it was a normal situation, Long Bu wouldn't let this matter go so easily. However, no matter what, his son was there. If Potian knew about this, there would be trouble. In the end, Long Potian was the hope of the Long family. Even he didn't dare to provoke his son. If Potian left the Long family in anger, he could only cry. Leaving the Long family. Longao didn't feel any anger because he knew that this was the reality. If he wanted to survive and not be bullied, then there was only one way, and that was to constantly become stronger. Strength. In the end, everything depended on strength. If he was a venerable or a supreme master now, even if he told Long Bu that he had reached the top of the 99 steps of heaven, would Long Bu still act like this? Longao didn't leave Red Dragon City. No matter how the Long family and Long Bu treated him, Long Potian was always his friend. Even if he was going to leave, he had to tell his friend. This was the basic courtesy and respect. It was already dark. Longao was going to find a restaurant to stay in. After saying goodbye to Long Potian, he got up and left Red Dragon City to return to his family. However, at this moment, Longao, do you still recognize me? Looking at Anhao, who was limping out, Longao smiled and said, "No, little brother. Do you feel that you are actually like a human? Anhao, God is watching what you do. Don't go too far. I'll let you go this time." Before Longao finished speaking, a sharp sword had been shot in an instant. If he hadn't dodged quickly, he would have been killed by the sword. The peak of the Dao ancestor. Longao had already sensed the strength of the other party. There was no need to ask at all. He already knew who it was. It seemed that Anhao was not convinced and specially found someone to deal with him. As expected, Anzun suddenly appeared. The father and son stood together. Anzun said, "You shouldn't have provoked the An family. Longao, now that Long Potian is not in Red Dragon City, the Long family won't interfere. I'd like to see who can help you." A conspiracy. Longao already knew that this was a conspiracy of the Long family and the An family. They wanted nothing more than to deal with him and send Long Potian away. No wonder Long Potian didn't appear. "You won't have a chance this time. Ha 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 ha, you?" With his father by his side, Anhao was fearless and didn't take the other party seriously at all. Anhao knew his father's strength very well. It was more than enough to deal with a small Longao. Chapter 276. Anzun was a peak Dao ancestor. "Longao, I won't kill you. I'll just let my son kick your crotch and let you have a taste of having no descendants." Looking at Anhao, who couldn't even stand steadily, Longao suddenly thought of the sunflower scripture. According to the sunflower scripture, wouldn't Anhao be able to cultivate it now? Seeing Longao ignoring them, whether it was Anhao or Anzun, both of them were immediately enraged. And Zun didn't continue to talk nonsense. He took a big step forward and rushed out. And Zun was confident that he could kill this person in 3 moves. Longao didn't move and stood quietly in place. Longao wanted to die. Seeing Longao motionless and ready to die, Anhao was very curious. However, when Anzun was less than 20 centimeters away from Longao backhanded with a blade. If Anzun hadn't dodged in time, this blade would have taken his life. Despicable. Longao didn't think of himself as despicable. As the saying goes, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Despicableness would always be reserved for the loser. This time, Longao didn't continue to sit and wait for death. He also rushed out. However, Anzun didn't have any chance to breathe. Blade after blade, like a storm. This time, not only Anzun, but even Anhao, who was full of confidence, was deeply shocked. He thought that his father would be able to kick the opponent's crotch in 3 moves. But now, not only did his father not gain the upper hand, but he was also pushed back step by step. There were several times when his father was almost killed by Longao's blade. Longao and Anzun were both peak Dao ancestor martial artists. Not to mention strength, just momentum alone, Longao could throw Anzun by several streets. However, Longao didn't use the momentum of heaven and earth. Longao held the blood-drinking wild blade and used the blood-drinking 8 styles. Under the crazy attacks, Anzun was gradually unable to resist. If this situation continued, Anzun would undoubtedly die. If it was before dusk, Longao might not have killed Anzun. After all, he had to give face to Long Potian. But now, the situation was completely different. The Long family and the An family clearly wanted him dead. If he showed mercy, the one who would be killed in the end would be him. Thinking of this, Longao went all out and directly hacked down with his saber. According to Longao's current strength, the power of this saber was enough to kill any warrior at the peak of the Dao ancestor realm, including Anzun. Anzun was cut into 2. At the moment of his death, Anzun couldn't figure out why he had been killed. Looking at the 2 halves of the corpse on the ground, Anhao was completely dumbfounded. Suddenly, Anhao screamed as if he had seen a ghost. He turned around and prepared to leave. Not to mention that Anhao was limping. Even if he was a good person, he would not be able to escape from Longao's hands. Since things had come to this point, Longao did not show any mercy. He then slashed out a saber light, killing Anhao, who was about to escape. The father and son of the An family probably did not expect that they would be killed by each other. Otherwise, the father and son of the An family would definitely not have come. Longao, you are really arrogant. You openly killed the patriarch of the An family in my Crimson Dragon City. Do you have any respect for my Long family? Seeing the sudden appearance of Long Bu and the other 2, Longao was not surprised at all. Because when he was fighting Anzun just now, he had already sensed 3 powerful auras enveloping him. Because of this, Longao was even more curious. Why did Long Bu and the other 2 not help the father and son of the An family, but watch him kill the father and son of the An family? Long Bu and the 2 venerable elders of the Long family stood side by side. The 3 auras overlapped and enveloped Longao. Longao knew that as long as he made a move, the 3 of them would definitely attack at the first moment. You arranged all of this, didn't you? Since things had already reached this point, Long Bu did not continue to pretend. In his opinion, the young man before him was no different from a dead man. He was just telling a dead man. That's right. I arranged all of this. You and the An family must die. The Long family's position is unshakable, no matter who it is. Longao really could not understand. With the An family's strength, it was impossible for them to shake the Long family's position in Crimson Dragon City. They could even better assist the Long family. If that was the case, why would the Long family want to deal with the An family? Longao, I have to admit that your talent is not bad. If you can continue to grow, your future will be limitless. Unfortunately, you no longer have the chance. Longao was constantly on guard. After all, the 3 people before him were all genuine venerables. Even if the 3 of them worked together, he would not be a match for any one of them. Father, Let brother Long go. Just as the battle was about to break out, Long Potion's figure suddenly appeared. Seeing his son, Long Biyu's face immediately turned ugly. He said in a deep voice, "Have you done what I asked you to do?" "Father, I know very well what you mean. I won't use the two venerables, but I hope you won't hurt my friends. Otherwise, I'll have to leave the family." Long Biyu was shocked. Even if Long Biyu had to give up the entire Long family, he would not give up on his son. What a joke. He and the Long family still needed to rely on Potian to soar. How could he give up such an opportunity? However, Long Biyu did not want to let Longao go. "Brother Long, I've let you down." Smiling, Longao did not mind and said, "No matter what happens between me and the Long family, you'll always be my big brother, Longao. Alright, brother Long, let's set a year as the limit. After a year, you and I will go after the dragon rankings together. How about that?" Longao naturally would not refuse. He nodded and said, "Alright, we'll set a year as the limit. You and I will go after the dragon rankings together. Brother Long, I won't see you off." Longao did not continue to say anything because he knew that Long Potian was in a difficult position in front of him and his family. Therefore, the only way was to leave by himself. He believed that with Long Potian, the Long family would not do anything to him. "Father, I hope you won't do anything to brother Long, otherwise, I'll do what I say." "Potian, I'm a little tired. Don't let anyone disturb me in this year. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion." Long Potian turned and left. It seemed that the matter of his family dealing with Longao had a great impact on him. After leaving Crimson Dragon City, Longao did not plan to return to the Crimson Sky World. Instead, he prepared to go back to Crimson Fire Town in Tianju. After leaving for so long, it was time to go back and take a look. Longao had decided that when he returned to his family, he would start cultivating in seclusion. Within a year, he had to break through the Void Disaster Realm. The dragon rank was the next target he would chase after. Longao knew that if he wanted to make his family stronger, it was not enough to rely on his own efforts. The only shortcut was the dragon rankings. If his family could have a few dragon warriors, he believed that the situation would change greatly. Chapter 277. The Long family did not pursue the matter of Longao killing the Infamily's father and son, but the Infamily was unwilling to let it go. As the leader of the four major families in Crimson Dragon City, the Infamily's strength was obvious. Everyone knew that among the four great clans, only the Yin clan had an ancestor who was a venerable one. It was because of this that the Yin clan's ancestor immediately left Crimson Dragon City when he learned that Longao had killed An Hao and An Zun. After leaving Crimson Dragon City, Longao returned to Tianju while cultivating and admiring the scenery around him. His body moved with the wind and dodged the murderous sword light. He said helplessly, "Long Jing, I've already said that I didn't enter the fake mountain on purpose. Why do you have to force me?" Looking at the girl who appeared behind him, Longao sighed helplessly in his heart. He had unintentionally entered the fake mountain and saw Long Jing bathing. It was an unintentional act, but Long Jing did not let it go and chased after him all the way, causing him to be on guard at all times. If she were an enemy, Longao would have killed her long ago without saying anything. However, Long Jing's identity was a little special. No matter what, she was still Long Potion's sister. "Chimph, you scoundrel. As long as I can't kill you in this life, I swear I won't stop." Hearing that, Longao felt helpless. He did not care about Long Jing and started to roast a few wild animals. Soon, the smell of meat spread out. Longao and Long Jing were more than 20 meters apart, and neither of them spoke. Longao was roasting the wild game, while Long Jing was quietly looking at the sharp sword in her hand. Should she flick it a few times? It's done. It smells so good. Looking at Long Jing, who was not far away, Longao smiled and said, "Do you want to eat? Get lost, you scoundrel." Longao had a good impression of this girl because he realized that other than her being a little unruly, she was a good girl overall. "If you want to kill me, you need to have the strength. If you don't eat, When you faint from hunger, hey. Longao chuckled. The meaning behind his words was simple. Whether it was on purpose or not, Longao chose to take the smaller paths instead of the main ones after leaving Crimson Dragon City. As such, there were no restaurants or inns around. Long Jing did not want to hunt for wild animals, so she did not eat for 2 whole days. Martial artists were also humans. Martial artists also needed to eat. If they didn't eat, they would slowly weaken and eventually die. Long Jing was well aware of this. Standing up, Long Jing walked to Longao's side and snorted, "I owe you a drumstick. I will return it to you later." Longao, don't think that a drumstick can save your life. Like I said before, I can kill you at any time. She didn't call him a hooligan. This was probably the so-called the shortest way to eat someone. Smiling helplessly, Longao realized that Long Jing was simply too naive, so naive that it was a little cute. As a Carnate Convergence Realm warrior, she actually couldn't even find food. Interesting. Longao didn't care about Long Jing and started eating alone. Moonlit werewolf. The dark wilderness was filled with wolf howls. It was funny. As a Carnate Convergence Realm warrior, Long Jing was actually afraid of such an environment. Longao was really annoyed. Standing on a huge rock and looking at the endless void in front of him, Longao suddenly said, "You've been following me for 3 days. Even if you don't find it annoying, I do. Please come out." Not bad. To be able to sense my aura, your talent is indeed not bad. At this time, an old man in blue slowly walked out. His face was wrinkled, and he had small eyes and a big nose. He looked very ugly. However, Longao did not underestimate him at all. This was because he could clearly sense that the old man in blue in front of him was a powerful venerable. "You're from the Yin family?" And Feng. As expected, but Longao was not surprised at all. After all, he had killed the Yin family's father and son. If the Yin family could take this lying down, how could they survive in Crimson Dragon City in the future? "Do you want to fight or not?" Hearing the other party's words, and Feng seemed a little surprised. He said with a smile, "No matter how wrong and how is, he's still a disciple of the Yin family. Moreover, you killed Nzun. We have to take revenge. Then let's fight." It was simple and clear. Longao clearly knew that this battle could not be avoided. Since that was the case, why was there a need to be so wishy-washy and talk so much nonsense? "Before the battle, I really want to know how you got the blood-sucking saber in your hand." Hearing Feng mention the blood-sucking saber, Longao was shocked. Ever since he obtained the blood-sucking saber, no one had recognized it. It was precisely because of this that he did not know how Feng knew about the blood-sucking saber. Since the other party already knew, Longao did not hide anything. He said, "I obtained it by accident." "How did you know about the blood-sucking saber?" With a face full of yearning and pride, Feng said with emotion, "How could I not know? The blood-sucking saber itself belongs to my family." *T***, Longao, let me tell you. The blood-sucking saber in your hand belonged to the ancestor of the Yin family back then. With this blood-sucking saber, the ancestor was invincible in the world. However, in an accident, the ancestor unfortunately fell, and even the blood-sucking saber was lost. His whereabouts are still unknown. I didn't expect that the blood-sucking saber would be in your hands. Hearing what Feng said and looking at the expression on his face, Longao knew that Feng was not lying. Could it be that the blood-sucking saber really belonged to the Yin family? "Longao, as long as you hand over the blood-sucking saber, I can let you live. Just cut off one of your arms. How about that?" "Ha ha ha, let me live, cut off one of your arms." "Feng, let me tell you clearly, regardless of whether the blood-sucking saber belongs to your Yin family or not, now that the blood-sucking saber is in my hands, it belongs to me, Longao. If you want to take it back, you have to rely on your own ability." Without waiting for Feng to speak, Longao continued, "Do you think that you're amazing just because you're a venerable? Let me tell you clearly, a venerable like you is not even comparable to a chicken leg in my eyes." Hearing Longao's words, Long Jing, who was not far away, burst into laughter. After laughing, She realized that she and Longao were enemies, so she forcibly endured it. Longao, I have to admit that you're really arrogant. However, the strength of a venerable is not something that a Tao ancestor like you can imagine. I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the blood-sucking saber and cut off one of your arms, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, Longao said with disgust, no, otherwise, I won't cut off one of my arms, and I won't hand over the blood-sucking saber. Bite me. The repeated provocation was simply unbearable. The prostitutes could endure it, but the brothel couldn't. Chapter 278. Longao and Anfeng looked at each other angrily. I'll let you see how big the gap is between a Tao ancestor and a venerable. Anfeng's body moved. Before he arrived, his terrifying aura had already arrived. However, Anfeng left quickly and returned even faster. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Aura of heaven and earth. Longao was not afraid of Anfeng's aura at all. What a joke. Unless he encountered the same aura of heaven and earth, the aura of heaven and earth was the strongest. At least you have some eyesight. Longao, how did you do it? Longao certainly knew what Anfeng meant. He sneered and said, what does it have to do with you how I condensed the aura of heaven and earth? You're really a busybody. Do you have nothing better to do? Anfeng's face became colder and colder. He found it hard to believe that a puny Tao ancestor could condense the aura of heaven and earth. Anfeng was not a fool. Of course, he knew what it meant for a Tao ancestor to condense the aura of heaven and earth. Thinking that this kid would definitely become a super expert in the future, Anfeng had already decided that no matter what, he would kill this person and get rid of future troubles. Longao, if your cultivation can break through the void realm, I won't be your opponent. But now, accept your fate. With that, Anfeng's body moved again. This time, Anfeng obviously did not use the aura of heaven and earth. Instead, he directly turned his palms into fists and punched at Longao with both fists. Longao did not dare to be careless. He also punched out with both fists. He also wanted to see what the result would be if his dragon god arm and tiger god arm clashed with a venerable. The four fists collided and the fist force scattered. Longao was directly sent flying. His entire body spun 3 times in the air before barely landing on the ground. This was also because Longao had dissipated the force in time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. What a terrifying fist force. Longao already knew that with his current realm, the gap between them was too big. This was the gap between a Tao ancestor and a venerable. The Xiantian realm and the Metamorphosis realm both required one to possess spiritual energy. Once one's cultivation base broke through to the Nihility realm, it would attract a tribulation. Once the tribulation was past, the spiritual energy in one's body would transform into spiritual energy. It could be said that there was a fundamental difference between spiritual force and spiritual source. Although the Divine Dragon Arm and the Hell Tiger Arm were powerful, Longao was still a warrior at the peak of the Tao Ancestor realm. What he had was spiritual power, not spiritual essence. Longao, now you know that there is no comparison between a Tao Ancestor and a venerable. Hand over the blood-sucking manic saber and I can let you die quickly. Anfeng, this person must be killed by me. Seeing Longjing standing in front of him without moving, Anfeng's expression changed. He said in a deep voice, Longjing, don't mess around. Move aside. Anfeng did not dare to go against the young lady of the Dragon Clan. After all, the Dragon Clan was the overlord of Crimson Dragon City, and their strength was far above the An Clan. In other words, as long as the Dragon Clan was willing, destroying the An Clan would be a matter of minutes. No, I have to kill him with my own hands. His expression was as ugly as it could be. In the end, Anfeng had no choice but to nod and agree, okay, I'll leave this person to you. Just when Anfeng was not paying attention, Longjing suddenly took out a small ball from her arms and threw it directly at Anfeng. Let's go. Longao did not dare to hesitate in the slightest. The two of them left with their fastest speed. Anfeng was shocked. He thought that Longjing would throw something, but at first glance, it was just an ordinary glass ball. Feng did not immediately chase after them. He stood in place with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. He said to himself, "Let's see how you can escape from my hands." Longao and Long Jing ran all the way. They did not know how long they ran before they stopped. Looking around and seeing that Feng did not chase after them, Longao said while panting, "Thank you so much this time." Longao, don't think that I won't kill you just because I saved you this time. This is just to return the favor of your chicken leg. From now on, if there's a chance, I will still kill you without hesitation. Looking at Long Jing, who turned and left, Longao was completely dumbfounded. He stood there in a daze. Suddenly, Longao laughed. Long Jing was really an incomparably simple girl. She clearly distinguished between gratitude and grudges. Even if it was a chicken leg, she would still return it to you. Helplessly shrugging, Longao truly witnessed the strength of a venerable. It was very terrifying. No matter how powerful the divine dragon arm and the underworld tiger arm were, spiritual energy and spiritual source were an insurmountable gap. Longao sat on the ground and rested for a while. He felt much better. Just now, when he exchanged a punch with Feng, if it wasn't for the fact that the divine dragon arm and the underworld tiger arm were strong enough to take away half of the power, he believed that just one punch would be enough to take his life. Inside the dragon seal space. Long Fu, is there any way for me to raise my cultivation to the Nihility 100 Calamity realm as quickly as possible? Longao knew very well that unless his cultivation could break through the void disaster realm and transform the spiritual energy in his body into spiritual source, he would be able to kill Feng with the help of the divine dragon arm and the underworld tiger arm. Otherwise, he would only be slaughtered. Master, no, I have used up all the spiritual stones. What's more, no one can help you break through the void disaster realm at the peak of the Tao ancestor realm, not even the desolate saint body. Why is that? Didn't you say that my desolate saint body can automatically advance as long as it absorbs enough power? That's right, but Master, what I want to tell you is that the situation is completely different when a peak of the Tao ancestor realm breaks through the void disaster realm. What's the difference? The thunder tribulation you triggered back then was similar to the thunder tribulation of an ordinary warrior, but once your cultivation breaks through the void realm, you will trigger the most powerful of the 100 tribulations. Even if the desolate saint body absorbs enough power, you can only rely on yourself to sense the 100 tribulations. No one can replace you, not even me. So that's how it is. He was a little disappointed. After all, with his current strength, it was impossible for him to be a match for a venerable. Master, if you want to kill a venerable, you don't need to rush to break through to the void disaster realm. Other methods are also feasible. Overjoyed, Longao couldn't wait to ask, Long Fu, what methods? Master, I've already calculated that there will be lightning and thunder tonight. When the time comes, follow my instructions and set up everything. Once this person falls into the trap, Master, you can draw upon the power of heaven and earth to strike him to death. Can I trigger the power of heaven and earth? Although Longao was very confident in himself, he knew his own limits. If he wanted to trigger the lightning of heaven and earth, it would only be a dream. Master, you can't do it alone. I will help you when the time comes. You won't have any sequelae, will you? Longao didn't want to let Long Fu take the risk. If he fell into a deep sleep for hundreds of years, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Chapter 279. Master, don't worry. I've already calculated everything. When the time comes, I just need to use the 12 corpse python slaves and I can escape. If it was before, Longao would definitely be reluctant to use the 12 corpse python slaves. No matter what, the 12 corpse python slaves were equivalent to 12 earthly sovereign realm martial artists. Longao did not hesitate at all. Since Feng was unwilling to give up, he could only give him a taste of his own medicine. According to Long Fu's instructions, Longao first found the peak of a mountain and took out all the 100 beast cores he had obtained before. Then, he drew a pattern on the ground. After finishing the drawing, Longao placed the 100 beast cores in order, and then summoned the 12 giant python corpse slaves. What are you doing? Long Jing, who was standing not far away, saw that Longao had been busy. She was very puzzled. In the end, she could not resist her curiosity and asked, "There will be lightning and thunder later. I'm going to use the power of lightning to destroy Enfeng. Is there something wrong with your head?" Long Jing rolled her eyes at Longao. She had seen arrogant people before, but she had never seen such an arrogant person. He was simply arrogant to the extreme. Using the power of lightning was easy to say, but how many people could do it? Regardless of whether others believed it or not, Long Jing would definitely not believe it. Let's wait and see. Long Jing, find a place to hide first and wait for the show. Long Jing seemed to want to say something, but when she saw Longao's confident face, she finally held it in. According to Longao's instructions, Long Jing really found a place to hide. After setting it up for 2 hours, Longao barely managed to finish it. "Master, there are still 2 hours before the lightning and thunder begin. It's time to start." Nodding, Longao came to the edge of the cliff. Looking at the endless dark void, he suddenly shouted, "Old man Enfeng, come if you can. I'll wait for you here." 10 minutes later. Enfeng really came looking for him. He didn't care about the messy patterns on the ground at all. Because in Enfeng's heart, he was full of confidence. Unless Longao could break through the Void Supremacist's position, he wouldn't be his opponent. "Longao, I can give you a chance. I'd like to see how you can escape from me." Looking at Enfeng's confident face, Longao smiled and said, "Enfeng, I'll make a bet with you." "Do you dare?" "Bet." Looking at Longao with great interest, the corner of Enfeng's mouth slightly carried contempt as he said, "Tell me about it. You and I will fight within these patterns. If you can defeat me within 10 moves, not only will I hand over the blood-sucking wild saber, I will also give you 2 treasures, the God-sealing pearl and the God-punishing mirror." Without waiting for Enfeng to ask, Longao continued, "The God-sealing pearl can lock the space around the opponent. As for the God-killing mirror, it can change the flow of time, making time go forward or backward by 3 seconds. Longao did not continue, because he knew that Enfeng must know the power of the God-sealing pearl and the God-killing mirror. Sure enough. Hearing the power of the God-killing mirror and the God-sealing pearl, Enfeng was very surprised. His face was instantly filled with greed. He said, "Okay, I'd like to see how you can withstand 10 moves of mine." What a joke! A Dao ancestor martial artist wanting to challenge a venerable was simply unheard of. In the Tianwu continent, the division of martial artists' realms was very strict. Generally, it was almost impossible to challenge someone of a higher realm. Not to mention, a Dao ancestor martial artist challenging a venerable was equivalent to a transformation martial artist challenging a nihility martial artist. Longao did not say any more nonsense. He took 10 steps back and entered the pattern. Enfeng was also not afraid. He took a step forward and entered the pattern. The two faced each other, about 3 meters apart. "Longao, I'm very curious. What do you mean by drawing these patterns?" The two of them were surrounded by countless strange patterns. It was impossible to see what was drawn. In fact, Enfeng was still very wary of the other party. No matter what, Longao was so confident, could it be that he really had something to rely on? "Why are you talking so much nonsense? You and I will fight. Within 10 moves, if you win, I will give you the blood-sucking wild saber, God-sealing pearl, and God-killing mirror. If you lose, just leave your life." The more confident Longao was, the more uneasy Enfeng felt. However, things had already reached this point. It was impossible to retreat. Longao and Enfeng did not immediately make a move. Longao was waiting for the lightning to strike, but Enfeng was afraid and did not want to make the first move. He wanted to see what kind of trick Longao was playing. Just as Enfeng was about to make a move, Longao suddenly took out the God-sealing pearl and God-killing mirror. He said, "You can try the power of the God-killing mirror and God-sealing pearl first." As he spoke, Enfeng suddenly felt the space around him stop flowing. Then, his entire body was locked. Was this the power of the God-sealing pearl? Enfeng was a venerable. With Longao's current strength, It was very difficult to lock onto him for even a second. Even so, Anfeng had truly witnessed the power of the God-sealing pearl. Longao sneered in his heart. He then activated the God-killing mirror. The front and back faces represented yin and yang. The yang side could make time go forward for 3 seconds, and the yin side could reverse it for 3 seconds. Longao used 2 changes of time at the same time. This time, Anfeng was pleasantly surprised to the extreme because such a powerful treasure was something he had never seen or even heard of before. Quite satisfied, Anfeng nodded and said with a smile, "I really didn't expect you to have such a treasure on you. Longao, seeing that you know what's good for you, I'll let you die a quick death later." Longao didn't say anything. Calculating the time, lightning and thunder were about to arrive. When the time came, he wouldn't even have a chance to cry. Longao didn't doubt Long Fu's words at all. Sure enough, at this time, the moon was still high in the sky. Suddenly, dark clouds covered the sky and a fierce wind blew. Catcher, there was a shocking flash of thunder across the sky. "It's here." He was delighted. Finally, the time he had been waiting for was here. Then, Longao moved first. Seeing this, Anfeng laughed 3 times. He thought that Longao wanted to commit suicide. The 2 of them didn't use fancy moves. As soon as they came, they directly punched each other. Longao didn't dare to be careless. The Divine Dragon Arm and the Hell Tiger Arm smashed out at the same time. Fist energy shot out in all directions. You punch, I punch. Just like this, the 2 of them didn't hold back at all. Longao was smashed until he was covered in blood, but he still endured. Long Jing, who was watching the battle not far away, was a little moved. At this time, Longao's body suddenly erupted with a shocking aura of heaven and earth, directly enveloping Anfeng. At this time, a small black seal suddenly appeared in Longao's body. Then, 12 giant python corpse demons rose at the same time and began to spin. Chapter 280. Seeing the sudden appearance of the small black seal and the 12 giant python corpse demons, Anfeng was shocked. However, Anfeng's confidence prevented him from leaving immediately. This made him walk on a path of no return. The black seal shot out a ray of light into the sky. Then, the 12 python corpse demons all circled around the black seal. A dragon's roar resounded through the sky. The summoning was a success. After receiving the information from Long Fu, Longao was overjoyed. He endured the pain in his body and did not continue to fight with Anfeng. The most crucial step had been completed. After leaving the circle of the pattern, Anfeng was about to leave when he realized that his body was enveloped by the power of lightning. This was the so-called lock. It would be a lie if he said that he was not afraid. At this moment, Anfeng was clearly panicking because he knew very well what it meant to be locked on by the power of lightning. Once the lightning struck, even a sovereign would not be able to withstand it, let alone a venerable one like him. "Longao, you dare to trick me?" He completely ignored Anfeng. Longao's injuries were not bad. After communicating with Long Fu, he immediately went to the place where Long Jing was hiding and said, "I'll let you take a look, lightning strike sovereign." Long Jing's eyes were as wide as a bull's, her face was filled with disbelief. She originally thought that Longao was boasting, but she never expected that Longao really did it. Anfeng was locked in the pattern. At this moment, the entire heavenly concubine was covered by dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. One could even feel the terrifying power of the lightning. "Longao, let me go." Anfeng was not a fool. He knew that all of this was caused by Longao, although he did not know how Longao did it. No one answered. Longao had already disappeared without a trace. Anfeng was completely flustered. He did not know why, but he seemed to have guessed what Longao was going to do. Anfeng was not willing to stand there and wait for death. His terrifying aura and powerful spiritual source fiercely hit the air shield around him. However, he had already been locked down by the power of thunder and lightning. If he wanted to break through the air shield and leave, he first had to break through the lock of thunder and lightning. "Longao, how did you do it?" "I'm not telling you. Petty. You won't kill me. In your dreams, Longao. Let me tell you, don't think that I'm afraid of you. One day, I'll kill you. Longao shrugged helplessly. At this moment, the dragon seal suddenly returned to his dantian space. Then, Long Fu's voice sounded in his mind. Longao was overjoyed in his heart. Of course, he knew what was going to happen next. He focused all of his attention on watching because this was the first time he had seen the thunderbolt venerable. If this matter were to spread out, he wondered if it would cause a sensation. Crack, crack. Terrifying thunder and lightning continuously struck down, all of them striking the pattern. If Anfeng had not dodged in time, he would have been struck to death by the thunder and lightning. Anfeng knew that if this continued, he might be able to dodge one bolt of lightning, but would he be able to dodge 100? Unwillingness, anger, and all kinds of things made Anfeng feel like an erupting volcano with nowhere to vent. In the distance, looking at Anfeng constantly dodging the lightning, Longao's face became slightly solemn. He knew very well that once he missed this opportunity, Anfeng would definitely bite him and not let him go, not to mention other things. Because of this, no matter what happened, Anfeng had to die. He had to die. Without hesitation, Longao took a big stride forward and rushed out, scaring Longjing. Anfeng, who was dodging with all his might, suddenly saw Longao appear and angrily roared, "Longao, even if I become a ghost, I will not let you go. Just you wait, just you wait." The unwillingness and anger in Anfeng's heart made him look like he was at the peak of madness. Longao knew that Anfeng had completely gone crazy, but even so, he could not let him go. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Longao had never been merciful to his enemies, so he did not hesitate at all. The blood-sucking broadsword in his hand had already slashed fiercely at Anfeng. Anfeng had completely gone crazy, but his strength was still there, so it was not an easy task for Longao to kill Anfeng. But fortunately, Anfeng's body had already been locked down by the power of thunder and lightning, and under the double attack, Anfeng began to gradually be unable to resist. From the beginning to the end, Anfeng was full of confidence that he could kill Longao with his own strength. But what was the result? Perhaps even at the moment of his death, Anfeng could not figure out why he had lost, and lost so miserably. No matter what, there was no medicine for regret in this world. The blood-sucking broadsword in Longao's hand was as fast as lightning. Terrifying saber light slashed out one after another, not giving Anfeng any chance to dodge at all. Anyway, if he could dodge the saber light attack, he could not dodge the thunder and lightning attack. If he could dodge the thunder and lightning attack, he definitely could not dodge the saber light attack. Crack! The power of thunder and lightning as thick as a tree trunk struck fiercely and precisely on the top of Anfeng's head. Suddenly, Anfeng's body did not move and was directly swallowed by the thunder and lightning from head to toe. Even his bones were not left behind. This was the horror of the power of thunder and lightning. Anfeng was dead. A venerable was killed by the power of thunder and lightning. If others knew that Anfeng, a venerable whose name shook Crimson Dragon City, had died in the hands of a Dao ancestor, who knew how they would feel. But what happened today would obviously not be leaked. Longao was very confident in Longjing. Such an innocent girl would definitely not tell others about this. Longao, did you really use the power of thunder and lightning to kill Anfeng? Until now, Longjing had not reacted because she did not expect that Longao could really use the power of thunder and lightning of heaven and earth and kill a venerable. With Longao's strength, who in the entire continent could be a match for Longao? How could Longao not know what Longjing was thinking? If he could use the power of thunder and lightning of heaven and earth every time, it would not be a problem for him to be invincible in the world. But the problem was that he could use the power of thunder and lightning of heaven and earth to kill Anfeng this time. He had taken advantage of the right time, place, and people, and it was indispensable. Longao, even if you can use the power of thunder and lightning of heaven and earth, I will still kill you. How dare you peek at me bathing, you stinking rogue. Hearing Longjing bring up the old matter again, Longao was very depressed and said helplessly, "Young miss, I have already said that I did not do it on purpose. Before Longao could finish his words, there was a sinister and cold laughter that came from afar and arrived in an instant. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.